egg, egg. Hi! Egg, 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 egg,
into the camera and then turns around.
Hello.
Hey!
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, can you fuck off?
You're crackly.
You're correctly.
Wow, okay, sorry.
Yeah, something I should not be correctly on stream, but yeah, Discord is fucking stupid sometimes,
Discord does that.
and it makes me correctly if I'm also streaming. I hope it's not too correctly.
Well, I can.
It's on in-game.
And,
Yeah, but maybe-
It'll probably be good in game.
True.
Oh
It's
yeah,
only
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not cracking on stream. Okay, that's good. Hello
There's no crack on
everyone.
stream.
I'm not doing crack on stream today. Sorry, that's later this week. Please look at the
You'll
schedule
have
for
to,
that.
that's on the Saturday streams.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, only doing drugs on the weekends. You know, like you need some.
Yeah.
You need to have these boundaries for yourself. You know,
You'll have to be there for Cracker Day.
when we eat crackers with
Yum,
some
yum.
cheese and such.
Crystal meth.
Crystal meth. But hi everyone. Sorry for the delay. Also, I was in the bathroom. And now we're here. Hi. I hope you're all like you've heard the music. You can see the more. Ow. You can see the more like light blue colored layout we've got right now. We've got my nice little colors. That's right, everyone. It's Halloween, so we're playing a horror game.
Anyway.
Is it?
It's motherfucking Christmas, bitches. Well,
Oh.
personally, I
hell
don't really,
yeah.
I don't specifically celebrate Christmas really that much. I never really liked it as a kid, and it's winter. It's winter.
Happy winter, everyone.
Happy winter.
Winter.
It's not winter yet, though.
Team Winter.
It's
Hey,
still
winter.
autumn.
It's winter. Come on, it snowed. I've walked through the snow
It
already.
snowed.
It hasn't snowed where
It's
I
winter.
live.
Well,
Well,
that's
that
too bad
sucks
for
for
you.
you.
And snow where I lived for like 5 years.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't celebrate either, but at least have a little seasonal joy. Oh, sure, that's what I'm saying. Like it's winter. We're celebrating winter. You know?
I love Christmas. It's fun.
I don't know. I feel like it's also. I also am like that kind of person that's like it's not fucking Christmas yet. Christmas is a specific
Even
moment in the month.
December?
But
No,
but-
yeah,
but-
no,
but-
it's just winter. I like winter.
Zoe-
See, okay, the thing that I like is winter. I don't like Christmas.
Oh, I
Right?
despise winter.
I like winter. I like the aesthetic of winter itself, which has nothing to do with Christmas.
Winter.
You know?
But Zoe,
Yes.
you are but then when it comes to Halloween, you're like, I wish it was always Halloween. I'm going to treat the whole month like it's Halloween.
But yeah, I know. Ow. That's because I like Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. So
What's your point?
you go.
She just likes Halloween and doesn't
Yeah.
like Christmas.
Yeah.
yes.
Ooh.
But then I mean you're like, but it's not Christmas. Yes, and then people go to you, but it's not Halloween. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I don't care.
But then you say I don't care. Exactly. That's what I thought.
Oh god, my eyes are. I fucked something up when
God.
making this version of the model.
Oh, no help.
Oh my god,
It's-
Curly, are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm fine.
What do you mean, Glenn? I'm fine.
You're just not. Yeah, you're just not queer enough to.
What?
What?
That's no, that's
Hey.
rude. That's rude. Look us by. Come on.
What the hell?
That's rude. That's rude.
You can't say that, that's illegal.
It's illegal.
No biphobia here.
Yeah, no. But speaking of look who is by, why don't my friends introduce themselves? Starting
Look, and I'm
from.
fine.
It's not your turn yet. We're starting from the far left.
Live.
Oh, hi, I'm Noodle and I'm bi. Hey, I'm Noodle. Nice to meet you. If you haven't met me before, I am an infinite ferret from outer space, and I'm bi.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
Bye. See ya.
Bye. Bye bye. Nice having you.
I'm not leaving.
Goodbye.
I will
There you
never
went, Bird.
leave.
You're leaving.
No, I'm not. I'll be here all evening.
Look at you go.
Thank
you're
you. Thank you. I'll be here all
you're
evening.
leaving. Bye.
No.
Bye.
No. Push me back up.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Here you come. Here you
Here
are.
I come.
Ooh.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm back.
Here
Yay.
you
How
are.
do you pop out? How do you pop out the chat?
The little
you
gearbox,
go-
and then there is somewhere is a pop-out chat button.
The settings menu.
Well, at least that one. At least that one works.
Guess what Santa brought for
Uh,
you? Is it a car battery?
Hey, Liv. Good
Did
news.
you ask for a car battery?
Oh my
No.
God. I hate Twitch.
Ow.
No,
Did
it's
you
just
ask
that's
for
fine.
that's
euros?
fine.
No, but I could have. I do love Amy Rose. I have to change the donation goal. I've decided that Lego Christmas tree isn't. It's too shallow. I think I should go. Ah! Shit!
Squib.
Clone, we're not even in the game yet.
In the game, that would be way too mean.
No, but I have to. Or car battery's on cooldown. Oh, thank God. I want to change it to a better webcam because. Ow!
There it is. There's your Christmas present.
Ow!
Yay.
Anyway, I want to change the donation goal to a better webcam because we're doing webcam streams now sometimes. Hiccup. And fuck. And it would be cool to have a better webcam.
I hope that goes away before we have to do our job.
No, it'll be funny.
Might
It'll
be
be.
a problem.
No,
It'll be
she'll
funny.
get
So
scared.
fucking
She'll get
funny.
scared and we'll go away.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Then I'll lose it.
Yeah,
If
that's
Gauntlet
how that
Queen-
works.
If Gauntlet Queen does not juju on that beat within the next 5 minutes, my heart will explode, killing me instantly. Juju on that beat? What's that?
What the fuck?
No, you don't know what that means.
That
You're
is a reference I do not get.
old.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it either.
Oh my god, the three of you are so old.
You're older than
What
I
is
am.
Just
Juju on that
literally the
beat?
youngest there.
I also don't know it.
Oh my god, all of you are so old.
Shut
Okay,
up,
bye,
dude.
Liv.
Okay,
The
listen.
youngest here.
See ya.
Just we're kicking. Okay, you know what, Liv? You're leaving. Goodbye.
Liv.
Goodbye, Liv. There you go. Bye.
Or Noodle, I don't know what you want to be called. I'm sorry.
There's plenty of people in chat who don't know what it is. I bet.
I can't see because Twitch on every screen window of
I'm
Twitch,
back.
there's a thing that says manage cookies or accept cookies, and I cannot get rid of it
Or I
permanently.
could die.
Oh, I hate that shit.
This includes the chat, by the way, so it looks like the image I posted.
Yeah, I have
In
that too when I hold on, let me look at it. Yeah, you manage cookies and then like
No,
Um,
I do it. I do that. It doesn't go away no matter what I do.
what?
I tried everything. No, the Twitch has
no
buttons
work.
that don't work. I cannot claim punchies. I cannot redeem punchies.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this earlier.
This has been for half a year at
has-
least.
Yeah, Luke has been having some tech issues.
That's-
can't-
Luke always is,
And then,
isn't he?
and then I tried to report
Yeah.
it. Ah.
Kinda.
And then I tried to find out how to report it. Turns out tech support in 2023 is awful.
Oh yeah, it is.
So I gave up, and then I got angry because I got
think-
angry at Twitch.
You guys
I
want to have something
think
fucking.
Clone. I think Clone should introduce himself.
Oh, right, you're
Oh
doing
right,
that.
yes. Go ahead, Clone.
Hello everyone, I'm Clone, Green Clone. I'm also bi. And,
Bye.
Fantastic.
My pronouns are
Bye.
they, any. Like they, them, or any, really. And I'm here to have fun.
Yay.
And die. Maybe.
Oh no.
And bye.
And die.
And die.
And die.
And die.
Bye. Same brain.
Yeah. Okay, let me move stuff around a bit.
Alright.
There we go. There. Now Clone is getting blocked by U-bots. Go ahead.
Oh, my turn.
Yes.
Luke,
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm binary. Ha! That's my joke for the evening. You get.
You're not getting any more.
That's okay. You can just be scared for the rest of the ow.
He's
for
a
the,
he's
for the
a
time.
little robo.
I'm a robo.
This place is
Hi.
great.
I'm looking at butt.
Ow.
My thing is that I've been on multiple streams, but none of them have been mine.
That's
Yay.
true.
I mean, with the energy you're bringing, they're practically yours.
So true, so true. You're the star of the show.
Stream for myself.
Hell yeah.
Good job, Luke.
You have to beat me first.
Thanks.
He will.
Thanks for the confidence.
What the fuck, Nick? How about you introduce
I'm
yourself then,
sorry.
huh, Nick?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Nick or Sprout, whatever floats your boat. I am.
I'm so outnumbered.
Yeah.
I'm also sick.
Yo.
And I use he they pronouns, and I really wanted to be here, so I'm here anyway. Ow.
Oh, right,
I'm here
pronouns.
anyway.
Careful.
Are they throwing stuff at you as well?
No,
Ow.
I just flipped my mouse for some reason. I don't know how that happened.
This is my stream. It was made for me.
It was made for me. I do need to diversify my guests. You're right.
Yeah, oh my god.
Luckily, I'm such a strong lesbian that I make up for it.
The
You know,
token lesbian.
I am the token
Excuse
lesbian.
me.
What?
Why do you need to diversify when there's like 4 people that love everyone? I don't know, man. That's
this
pretty
is great.
diverse.
I know, but still, it was just
No,
you
we
know.
need at least one person who hates everyone.
I can be that too.
Okay, go. Cool.
Who's my most
Oh,
hating
it's-
friend?
Most
Thank
Which
you.
one
hating
of my
friend?
friends hates the most?
Probably Pico.
Is this true?
For
I'm
the
scared
bit.
to meet Piku.
Pico would for the bit.
Oh yeah, same.
To be
Yeah,
fair,
no, I was
But I
about
don't
to say
really-
something
one
familiar.
would.
I don't really hang out with people who aren't nice and like things because that sucks, you know?
I
So,
love it when people hate.
I don't. Anyway, and finally, hello everyone, I am Zoe Gauntlet Queen, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a big fucking lesbian.
Yay!
I love women so much. So much.
Oh my god, same.
Same.
Wait, hold on. How do I,
Same.
Yeah.
how do I
We all love women and hate misogyny.
I think. Did I not? How do I blush again? I don't remember. Oh, I got it. Yeah, I love women! Yay!
Yay!
Yahoo!
Yippee!
Yippee! Okay, and today we're playing Lethal Company. You probably know it because it's pretty popular right nowadays. It's
And the
like
title is right there as well.
good phasmophobia. Let's go.
Good phasmophobia sounds great.
Good
Yeah,
fuss.
doesn't it
How do I
though?
join?
Not yet.
Oh,
Okay, now you can join.
How do I
Okay.
join?
Or wait, hold on. You go to your Steam friend
cannot
list
join.
and then you right click.
No, because we cannot, because you're in stream avatars.
Ow.
I mean, we could join your stream avatars, I guess.
I mean, just try it. Is there a join
No,
game button?
I'm trying. It not showing an option.
No.
Let me see.
No, because you're in stream avatars.
Okay, well then I'll just invite you.
Yay!
That works.
Yippee!
Yahoo!
Does it?
I hope.
There's two fucking things. There's 2 servers here called Funny People Only.
How did? Wait, I can't invite you
Well,
because it thinks I'm in stream avatars.
yeah.
Oh my god!
Oof.
How did everybody join last time?
I don't know.
I
Wait,
wasn't
invite
there.
friends.
Question, I didn't know. I
Neither.
don't know.
Is this wait? Am I inviting?
Hey, it works.
Okay, all right, this works.
You have invited me.
Hooray!
I have been in.
However, it's not letting me join you.
It's not a proper invite.
What do
yeah.
you mean?
It does. There's
You
no.
invited me to play.
Yeah, it just asked me if you want to launch or not.
What? Oh come on!
Huh.
This is fucking annoying.
How does work?
Anyway,
Car battery!
Stop! Ow!
Help.
How did they join me last time? I don't get it. I don't get it. Ow. Can you? Okay, hold on. Maybe if you click on join a crew and then you would be able to find me there. Maybe.
Maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
Let me give it a
can't
proper name.
really
Well, it just says Gauntlet Queen's crew, so just join that.
I can't search for that.
I'm looking for it.
I might have to boot up the game before stream afterwards. Maybe I just like did that previously by coincidence.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because I can't see the thingy.
No?
Me neither.
No.
Shit.
Unless you're
I've
funny
seen one that's
people.
called Netherlands.
Nope.
Yeah, but that's not
If
it.
they're funny people only, then yes.
No,
but
it should
no.
just be Gauntlet Queen's crew. Alright, you bots, you're all gonna die for a second?
Bye, friends.
Kill! Yes!
Also, yes, this is Sonic Advance Ice Level Music, that is correct.
It was nice knowing you, you bots.
We will know you again.
You will.
It's all good.
Unless I forget.
No, well, I guess. I guess you would in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh.
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 Oh. Going great.
Normal gang.
Normal gang.
Normal gang.
Normal.
God, I love being normal.
Normalize being normal.
Utilize being normal.
I mean, that's not that hard nowadays.
Okay, come on, game, start up.
Social commentary.
Ah, bada bing, bada ow.
Innocent man.
Bada bing, bada ow.
Social commentary hurts.
Bada bing, bada boom, and then I blow you up.
Oh my god.
Blows up
Yeah.
pancakes with mind, you know?
My fucking peg.
Oh, what?
Ah, fuck.
And now
And that
shows
fucks
me
up.
an option. Wow, okay. It took a while, but now the
now I
invitation
can
you
click
sent is clickable.
Oh, cool, but I haven't even made a thing yet.
Exactly, yeah. When you click it, it goes
Yeah,
to an
we're
hour.
gonna get the lumpy things.
I can't even. I think the game is frozen on the main menu.
It's
Isn't
going.
Oh yeah.
It is. It seems like it, yeah.
God.
Hmm.
Does it go do 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 do? Just checking.
Well, it does, but I think it's the music.
Yeah, that's
I-
true.
Luke, are you doing the snail phone from One Piece?
What?
Time to try again.
No, but he should.
Jesus fucking
Snail
Christ.
Okay, so in
I played
One
this game
Piece,
twice.
It's
been
instead
fine
of
both
phones, you have
times.
snails that you can use as phones.
Oh, I gotta do
Okay.
eggs also. I gotta do
And then-
dab. Oh, I
And then
got...
your voice comes out of their mouths, and they match your mouth. It's like you literally like connected to a snail through a snail, and then and then that snail talks in your voice exactly the way you're saying things to it.
That sounds lovely.
And it's like, so what about regular phones? That is the
I am
regular
booting
phone.
the Vitamin
It
Monster,
is the
yes.
closest thing we have to a regular phone in one. And that is also one that's like, you know, one that's fucking a megaphone version that's really loud. It's a
Oh,
bigger one.
okay, game is
Oh
launching.
shit! I forgot to notify my Discord that you're streaming.
That's important.
Yeah.
Okay, and...
I just told my friend.
Confirm. Loading. Okay, I'm in the game. Can you guys join?
Let me see.
Well.
Yes.
Let's fucking look.
Yeah, it says label company.
It sure said that I could
Joining.
join. Loading.
Yay! Oh my god! No, no, don't watch my broadcasts. I accidentally clicked that. I wanted to join you, but for some
Hello.
reason, hold on, I gotta restart the game. I wanted to click
Bringing the earbuds
join
back?
game, but then someone else joined and the pop-up just moved.
Oh,
so that I
yeah.
clicked the wrong thing. Love it when that happens.
But join. Okay. 3.
I'm
It's me.
relaunching the game and I'm gonna
Wow.
join
It's a
in
relaunch.
Momo. Yeah, I had to relaunch because for some reason it didn't give me the option anymore, and I'm pretty sure it's because the game thought I was streaming at you. So
How
let's
do you
retry.
dance? I
No,
wanna
Zoe, I can't join you anymore. You gotta
Why not?
invite me.
Do you have the mod?
Yeah, because it's not giving me the option.
Are you sure you launched modded?
Yeah, sure
Okay.
did.
So when you right click on me and your friend says it doesn't say join.
Nope, it doesn't. It did, but then I clicked the wrong thing because
Oh my
the pop-up.
god!
But hey, Green Clonk is inviting me, so I'm
I
joining.
also sent you an
oh,
invite.
I need it too. Fun.
Where's Nick?
Okay, we're all here. Okay, so everybody
I'm like right here.
do that thing in Discord.
Where?
You got it.
Where's Nick?
Oh yeah,
Nick's right here.
you might not see everybody because of the mod.
I don't see Nick.
I can see Nick. Nick is right here. I'm
This is
pushing
Nick.
Nick.
I
I
also
walked
see Nick.
through Nick.
We cannot.
Can you
no, I
guys
cannot
hear
see
me?
Nick.
I
hear you.
can.
As long as you can hear Nick, that's good for now.
Does that fix when we're not here?
No,
Never hear us? Oh.
it fixes if Nick dies or if we redo the lobby.
I
Well,
cracked.
let me take out a
my
knife.
glass.
What?
I bumped to the ceiling and I was a crack on my glass.
Me
Oh no,
too,
that's
buddy.
always there.
Oh
That's
no,
normal.
that's just there.
That's normal. That's normal. All right, I gotta do eggs before we go. Should have done that 1 billion years ago, but we're doing it now. Beep. Da-da-da.
Egg.
Ooh, you can bleed.
Yes, Chet. Remember to redeem your eggsies. Beep. Oh my gosh, it's time for eggs! With the first egg of the day being from Esteemed
How do you do
Jester!
that?
And then we've got Green Clonk!
Pick this up. You wanna have it?
Yeah.
And
do that?
Space Junk!
Thank you.
Rootsatera! She-Burger! Dino! Yeah, everybody come dance, it'll be fun. 565 Ghostly!
What is my favorite animal?
Car
Yes.
battery!
Time to Time to fry! Ow! Trilobite Blessing! Mike loves rabbits!
Huh? I do.
I can hear Zoe. You.
Yoamarux!
One moment.
XI, Mr. Pens, IX! Wait! How did I get here?
Sometimes
Polar
I hear the echo of
stars.
Zoe and Liv, but now not anymore. Now it's gone.
Yeah, no, I
Sprouts Garden!
plugged my
That's
wire back in.
me.
Yeah! AO Hell!
Liv, what's my favorite animal?
Takanuva Official!
Ferret, obviously.
Banshee
there it is.
Strikes!
My favorite role in that team.
The Shame Hole!
Ferret, obviously.
And
You're
Cumbercube!
right. Welcome to the Fortune 9OS.
There we go.
Company. I mean,
Thank you all very much for all the starting eggs. And I died! No!
Why did you
You
die?
died?
Oh, and I canceled the music. Hold on, that's no good.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, you want to look at the
Hold
computer?
on. I have to kill again. I might die again.
I'm leaving.
Wait. Okay.
Also, it's interesting. I think they updated the game.
Or Nick, are you on the tournament?
Yes.
Oh, that's because I can't see you. It looks like it just doesn't work, but it's because you're using it. I
Yay!
can't
This
use
one
it.
takes more work to set up.
That shit's scary.
Oh, okay, right mouse button.
What's
is the
this?
Scanner.
It takes so long. Yeah, the scanning is important. Okay.
Cuter.
So, Jody, what do you think is the fitting alt here? Is it Spectral Queen because we're playing a horror game, or do you want to go back to the Christmas? All right. while I am back and I'm normal, I really need to reevaluate the existence of the alt picking redeems. Either. Okay, Polar Stars. Yeah, I really need to reconsider those. I might just have to make them way more expensive.
Maybe.
Or you can get
Alex.
Huh?
I don't think we should touch those.
Open.
Wow,
don't touch that
Transpalette.
yet, that
Let's
starts
work.
the game.
Oh shit! Wait. That's not the game.
It doesn't
Probably, 'cause if it's like Phasmophobia, that probably starts the game.
No, I have to start the game because I'm
You're the
the
first land on the moon.
Yeah, I was about to say we're out in space, right? So I just
Oh, hell
wanted
yeah,
to press
open
the
that.
yeah, open
No,
the
you
door
can't
and
do
go
that,
out
no.
into outer space.
Can you?
No, it doesn't do anything.
I feel like if you press it enough times, it should just open.
Let me out!
No,
Let
it
me
should-
out!
It should open if you do it enough times.
Please
Yeah.
let me out!
Oh well.
You should be allowed to kill everyone as a joke.
Yeah.
Is it
You
possible
should
to
be
put
able
all
to
the
kill
all
everyone
redeems
just in general.
all in the same global cooldown? No, I cannot. Polar Stars. I wish I could. I've often said that I want that to be a thing, but no,
You're in deep. Access
I
while
cannot dance
sick
while
it.
crouched. This sucks.
That's great.
Anyway.
it is. Also, a Ribbon Skull and Fuzzball Dave. Thank you very much for the eggs. Here we
This
go.
is so much
Okay.
information. I don't know what to do with.
Okay,
I'm not
let's
reading
let's start
I'm
playing.
not- I'm
Okay,
not reading all
gang,
that.
gang. Let's actually start playing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okie
So-
dokie.
What we're about to do is we're going to descend on a moon that has an abandoned facility there, but there might be salvageable things in there, right?
Wait, you just roboted out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. So, what we're about to do, I blame Discord also. Still, what we're about to do is we're about to descend on a moon that has an abandoned facility, and there might be salvageable things in there.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I'm nodding at you.
Very good, very good. So, I do notice that we're actually on like the second quota already because I loaded an older save, but that's okay. So, when here in the ship, we'll be able to monitor the people, like all the people in the team, on like the monitor. You'll be able to like see around them and see any salvage around them or any threats around them. So what we want to do is we want to use a walkie-talkie. There's one in the air here for some reason, and another one
we
here
can't
on the
use them
floor,
right
and maybe more.
No, that's the
There's-
two of them.
There's a box for some reason. Don't know what that is.
We
that's a
can't
ladder.
use it yet.
Oh, it's a ladder. Where did that come from? All
There
right.
is a store. Maybe you can buy
Yeah,
stuff.
you said
Yeah,
you,
later.
There's
You don't need old
batteries.
files, so I
we
think
have
that's
we
it.
have 415. We can buy more walkie-talkies.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Should I do that?
We're not talking via Discord chat. It's just I blame Discord anyway. We can do that. You can buy two more
some
so that everybody has a walkie-talkie. So the idea is that one person is going to be staying in the ship and monitoring the other people and using the computer to like hack devices nearby them and stuff and warn them of threats or be like, hey, there's some loot in that room you just passed or something.
That sounds like fun.
Yes, and the other four people are going into the facility to not get killed, ideally.
Okay, well, this sounds like the safest option to me. So,
I bought
All right,
two
okay.
walkie-talkies.
So what you want to
You
do
can also
is
switch like
the best way to do it, Noodle, is to be on the terminal.
yeah.
Not just yet though.
Oh, okay.
I have to do it first because we're starting the game now. So then the host has to do things. And then if you type display monitor, I believe. You can find it as like if you do help it displays commands, then it'll show the monitor that is on this screen usually on here, and then you can like type in hacking commands and stuff at the same time while still looking at
okay.
everybody, and you'll be able to type switch to switch between us and switch and then username to switch to them directly instead of just cycling.
Okay, cool.
Yep. When you have a walkie-talkie in your hand, pressing Q will turn it on and off. It does have a battery, so be aware of that. And after it's turned off, on, I mean, and you press left click, you will talk into it.
Stop
you
looking at
can
me!
Right.
recharge it here.
White?
Right?
How do you do that?
It's two.
It's you press
Why is
2.
everyone pointing? Stop that! You.
Nick, where
Fucking
are you?
Spider-Man.
Anyway, oh yeah, this
How?
device.
Yeah, I was.
Research is infinitely.
There you are. Am I
I was
pointing at you?
pointing out. No, now you are.
Yay!
Kinda.
I was pointing
Okay.
at Liv.
The peer pressure is very effective. Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. I'm on computer.
Okay, cool. But gang,
Boop, boop, boop.
gang, 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 gang.
Boop, boop, boop. Sorry.
This device here on the wall is used
Yeah,
to
it's
power
fucked.
the battery-powered dividends. The dividends. It's a device and an item. It's a dividend.
Dividing.
It's also what I call like a guillotine because you divide the head from the body. And lantern, like flashlights are also for that. We only have 2 flashlights also, I think. But if we go in teams of 2, then that should be fine.
Yay!
Do
for
not
now.
wish to worry you, but there's a sign right here that says maximum occupancy permitted in this room 4.
It's okay. It's alright. It's okay. It's okay.
But I'm feeling lightheaded. I'm running out of oxygen for some reason.
Well then,
no.
I guess we'd better go.
Let's go. Open the
Let's
door.
see.
The run looks so funny.
Oh my god, yeah.
Noise.
All right, we are above the planet Assurance or the moon Assurance. There is no specific
Madness.
conditions there right now, so it's nice and easy. Let's go.
Let's
The
go!
system supports territorial behavior.
I don't know.
How are these fuckers more unruly than 8 of us last time?
What was,
Because everybody on stream last time was a streamer and thus understands, like, you know, the streamer etiquette and stuff.
What was the display thing again?
Display monitor, I think, or maybe display
have
camera. If you do help, it shows you commands.
No, it don't exist. Let's see. Help. Other. Field monitor. Thank you.
There it is. That's on. All right,
Fine,
we
we're
are.
walking
We're going out.
Bye, Liv.
Hello.
Taking a key also.
I have no idea what
Bye-bye,
I'm looking
Liv.
at here. What?
Okay, okay,
you
Liv.
go,
I
Tokyo.
will. Wait, hold on, Liv. Hold on. Do you have one of the walkie-talkies
Yeah?
in your hand?
I do not.
Okay, hold on. Come with us. Because
Liv, you should.
we ordered things, right?
Oh,
yeah, come-
they're gonna drop it.
Over here.
Oh.
This way.
Oh, over here.
Bada 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 bada. Ow.
Okay, this
I love ice cream.
Okay,
There it is.
there's one walkie-talkie and another one over here. Who doesn't have one yet?
Me.
Okay, grab it.
Me.
fucking
It's so cute that they're doing the fucking.
Oh, what's this bug
That's very
bird?
cute.
Ah, this bird.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. The bird's fine.
What is
Okay,
this pumpkin?
Noodle.
Oh my God.
Noodle.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
will be in contact when we reach the facility. All right. So just keep
You got
your
it.
keep your walkie-talkie on, okay?
Will do.
By pressing Q.
Roger that.
Cool.
Oh,
I don't have a. I don't have one.
Those are not bees.
You see me?
I see you, yeah.
hello.
Okay. Oh hey! I thought it was Nick, but it's
I mean, like, I
No,
don't
Nick
have
is
a
there.
walkie-talkie myself.
Okay, you can. Okay, I'll go with Nick, and you can go with Clone because you can't see.
Oh.
Oh,
Where do we go?
yeah.
Okay, this way. Come follow me.
all right.
This can only go poorly. What? No, Chad. It's gonna go great.
Hey Liv, how you doing? Over.
No, we're not at the facility yet. You're,
that's
you're
a
wasting
bummer.
battery
Over.
space.
What do you-
Which way
there
was it
batteries
again?
in the walkie-talkie? Dang, I didn't know.
Yeah, there
there's
are.
no battery.
You can see the battery in the top left.
Can I?
Yes,
Yeah,
I mean I
it's
assume
near
so.
suit
Oh, top left of. Okay, my screen. I was looking. At the
Oh
top
yeah, no,
left
not of the walkie-talkie.
Burbs.
There. All right. Turn it off.
Ba-da-bum, ba-da-ba-da. No, don't do that. No, I mean I guess you can. But
Why not?
well, because I don't think there's anything up there, and you might just fall to your
Yeah,
death.
but we're having a fun time.
Yeah, no, I know. Just go
exploring.
ahead. Just go on.
Hi, I'm high up.
Ba-da-bum, ba-da-ba-dum, ba-dum, 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 bum. I can't fucking remember where we have to go. Wait, I think that is it over there in the distance. Or is it that one? I can't fucking tell.
Let's go this way because it's fun.
Careful not to fall.
Eek.
Is that it?
Okay.
I think it's this way. Careful. Shoot me down.
Where are you?
I went down.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi. Bird.
How do you go down here?
Shoot me down. Just like along the wall.
Oh, okay.
Bird.
Hi.
Hi.
Like this. Hi.
Where's Clone?
Ow? No,
you were with Clone.
You were supposed
Yeah,
to
no,
be
Clone
with.
was you. I went up the ladder.
No, what? No. I said that you should go with Clone because you can't see Nick, so I'll go with Nick.
Oh, I forgot about that because I can't see Nick.
Hello.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
here.
why.
Yeah, but because we were still in a group, so I forgot about the Nick part because I couldn't see Nick.
It's okay. Luke, I'm here. I'm like right up.
Okay,
I'm
well,
like right
we'll-
here. I'm like right here.
Hello, Liv?
Yeah, hello.
We lost Clone. If you... And Clone is the only one without a walkie-talkie, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, Clone is currently inside a building.
Okay, well then we'll see him because we're about to be inside the building also.
Alrighty.
Clone here.
Here we are. Clone?
Clone.
Oh, this way.
Okay, hi.
One of you has a flashlight.
I forgot we were a team, so sorry.
Yes, we found Clone.
So, alright, let's go, I guess.
I was already looking around.
So, how do I open and close doors and stuff?
You should be able to see like little squares on screen, green or red squares. Oh god, the spider, the spider, the spider, the spider.
What do you mean?
Watch out.
I should have warned you about that. I forgot.
Bro,
Shit.
that's scary.
Oh,
I'm glad that you're in there and that I'm here.
Gang,
Oh, yes.
run.
yeah.
I did not do it on purpose.
We should have brought a shotgun.
I did not. I feel really bad actually that I didn't think to warn Luke about the spider. I forgot. As in like that there are spiders.
Gang, I think we lost Luke. I think he's dead.
No, yeah, he is. He got killed by a giant spider, which I feel really bad about.
Gang, I fucked him.
No, like genuinely.
I mean, he's not responding.
No, he's dead. We saw him. We saw him get killed. He's dead.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Now I know what that looks like on the monitor.
Yes, Luke has a phobia of spiders, so I feel bad. So gang, if you right
Right,
click,
so I don't see any entrances or exits in this room you're currently in.
I mean that's impossible because I'm going in and out of a room right now.
Yeah, okay. Except for that
I
one.
think it's because Liv is only
Oh, like
looking
you don't see anything
for-
else. Okay. If you see any green triangles, that's loot for us to pick up. So you should tell us about that.
Alright, got it. Roger that.
Maybe we shouldn't. Okay, wait. Maybe not go here because of the spider.
Can we ask Liv to close this door?
Oh, I live.
Liv, right now in front of me, do you see a red square with like a? Okay, please close it.
Wait,
Does he even know how?
Like, just type it into the spider's coming. Okay, never mind. It's too late. Bye.
I don't know how to close it. It's just chose the
You
code.
can still close it. Close it.
Yeah, like just type the code into the console.
I did
Like
multiple
L0
times,
or whatever.
and it didn't do it.
Then I think you might have the wrong code. Also, thank you. I think you Clone for forgiving me.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, like that's not even the spider. That's a new enemy.
Is it a different one?
Yeah, it's not the spider. That's like a lizard thing.
What was that?
What is the code supposed to look like?
It's on. It should just be on chat. It's a letter and then a number, a lowercase letter and a number.
And it didn't. It just showed the door opening, and it's the only thing.
I think next time I'm gonna stay here.
Okay, then I don't know. What's that sound? Someone chewing on something?
Anyway, it's part
No,
of the podcast, so
I
it should be
took
good.
a sip.
Oh, okay.
Spider is a little
Got it. The problem is there's not that much. I mean, we can go down the stairs, I guess. We haven't gone there yet.
Nothing.
Let's just go down
Yeah.
the stairs.
But maybe if we go up, we'll have an angle. That's worry some of it.
What is the triangle?
There's a, if you go back,
Is that beast?
right there in the corner,
There's an enemy on it.
Oh, yeah, it's a bell.
that's it.
I got a bell.
Okay, at least that's one thing.
I don't know what that all means, man.
We got a bell to sell. Which rhymes. Do we keep going?
Do we go back?
We should get a shovel to kill things with. Oh, okay.
Yeah, shovel will be small.
Oh, also it's really late. Yeah, we're coming back because it's getting really late and that's when the monsters come out.
Alright, gotcha. See you in a bit.
Yeah, be careful and don't talk.
Ideally.
It doesn't hear me.
Also, we're gonna go radio silence for a little bit because otherwise we attract the beasties.
Should I be worried about the beasties?
Yes.
Wait, was that a yes?
It was a yes. So, you know, check around yourself as well and make sure to close the door if anything gets closed to you.
You
Yeah, we're
got
gonna
it.
do-
Over and
Nick,
out.
this way.
It's this way. There it is.
Hello.
Ah, I'm a monster. I've come to kill you.
Hello.
Oh my god, you roboted out there.
I'm so sorry.
Where's Clone?
There's
That's
Clone.
fun.
Here I am.
Okay, so we got
I miss
one
Luke.
thing. Just one. A single thing is what we have managed to acquire.
A bell.
A bell.
Wow.
Lovely.
Isn't that nice? Well, we're all here except for one, of course. So let's go. Not a super successful first
Yeah,
first day,
I've got
I will
no
say.
clue why it wouldn't let me close the door.
Yeah, that's
so you're just
weird.
supposed to type in the code, right? Just
Uh-huh.
the number, the letter and the number.
Yep, that's all you're supposed to do.
It didn't let me do that. I typed it in and it just said something like door accessed and it didn't do anything after that.
Well, isn't that all that it should do? Chad, do you guys know
Well,
anything?
If it didn't close for y'all, then.
I live!
Oh my
You're
god!
back! I'm so sorry.
Welcome back.
Days left.
I forgot.
It's okay.
Hand on shoulder.
Have some soup.
Hand on shoulder.
Poke in the eye.
And on the shoulder.
Point.
But look, can you see me now?
No, because you didn't die. I
Yeah, you have to die, Nick.
Look,
Yes.
look, you out there.
Alright.
What?
The ghost.
Bye.
Have a
So
bell.
things are not looking super well in terms of. Wait, where did this thing go? Wouldn't we have a ladder over here?
Have a
Huh?
bell.
Oh, I have the letter.
Oh. Did someone put a lamp away?
What's
Also,
that? Oh, it's a lamp.
Okay, thank you very much for the egg. And a sippy and a posture check for all of us. What are they doing?
What do key do? What does
Empty
the key
guess,
do?
thank you as well. For the egg. Sometimes there's a locked door and you can use a key to open it.
Oh, land ship. I can do that, apparently.
No, you can, yeah, but don't do it yet.
Weather flooded. Oh, that sounds great.
Oh, dang it!
okay, we can swim.
Who flooded the dang weather?
That means that the place will keep flooding more and more, I believe. So the longer we wait, the less likely we are to make it back to the ship.
Okay,
So that's
we
not
just
ideal.
Immediately go.
That was a very gremlin laugh. Yeah, you're right.
Thank
I
you.
believe that was.
That's
I
that's
should-
one of my favorite noises.
Oh yeah, I bought like 2 new walkie-talkies and 2 shovels.
That's pretty smart.
Humble brag.
Let's see. Guess we'll go to experimentation now.
Yeah, I did it. I got it on, I got it on top of it.
Nice.
Nice job.
Good throw.
All right, let's see.
Fucking bonked my head.
Okay,
We
let's
should
go.
go.
Let's go. Let's die
Yay.
again.
Let's go again.
Yay.
Maybe Nick will die this time.
Do you?
All right.
Wow, mean.
Well, I'm just saying, because
Party
then Nick will be
time.
able to see you.
Huh? Oh yeah, I love
Let's
doing
go.
this.
What?
Party time.
Let's go.
All right.
You go right ahead. I'll be on my pewter.
Oh my God, we're still
Okay. I hope you can do the computer thing this time.
I hope so too.
moving. Let's see, where's
Right.
it gonna fall?
I don't know.
Oh, here. Maybe.
Goodbye.
Make sure you
Get
don't
killed by the-
stand
get
directly
killed
under
by
it
the
or you'll
spider.
I'm gonna
die.
wave to you. Bye.
It'd be kind of funny if it does kill me.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait, you're...
Bye.
Where is it?
Where is it?
I'm over here.
No, not
Should already
here.
drop like
Oh, there
right
it is.
over here. And there you
Oh.
go.
Oh, there it is.
Woo! Shovel. Okay, I have a key that I'm dropping. And
I picked it up.
does anyone not have a flashlight yet?
That's me.
I have a flashlight.
You don't, Clone? Or Luke, I mean?
I don't have.
I have no flashlight.
Oh, neither of you? Okay, well, pick
I have
one.
a shovel.
I have 3 items now.
Okay, I have 2 items. I have a
I have
shovel and a
3.
radio thing. Let's
Nick,
go,
you want a
gang.
key?
I have a key.
Nick, where are you?
I'm like right
You can't
beside
see
you.
Nick.
No, but Nick is so far away, I can barely hear him.
No, he's
What?
not.
No,
That's
I'm
just
like the-
that's the bug.
Oh,
Hi.
it's getting worse.
No, it's not. It's the bug is just that you can't see him and his voice is always coming from the ship.
Oh, it's always coming from the ship. No wonder I couldn't hear him the whole game.
Yes.
I thought Nick was just very quiet the whole game. Oh, okay. I didn't understand that part.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. You can hear me through the
that's cool.
thing, yes.
Alright.
Well,
Oh, you didn't
Luke,
have it, fucking-
Luke, do you have your radio on?
I have it on.
Okay.
Can you hear me now, Luke?
Hello,
Okay,
hello.
you still can't hear Nick, I
Hello,
think.
hello.
I can't hear Nick.
Nick is trying to contact you through the radio, but it doesn't fucking work.
No.
Oh well, let's go in.
Yeah.
We are in the building.
Copy that.
Cool. We'll just have to either...
This should be, yes, and the doorway that one of you is currently going
think I'll
into,
stay
this
with
should
you.
be an item.
Good, I'll stay.
Yes, that one.
I'm like
And
right
this,
here.
this
Big
room,
balls.
yes, you go.
I got the big bulb.
Alright, no further items
yes.
or doorways in here.
Thank
I'll
you.
go stick it with you.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yes.
what's gonna happen is
Would you go
either
first,
Nick
Simon?
dies this round, or we just remake the lobby and hope for the
I
best.
don't see any codes to close doors. Is that
If Nick doesn't die, we can kill him at the end of
Uh,
the shovel.
no, that's okay right now because we didn't. We also didn't see
Wow.
anything you could interact with.
you got it?
No shade on you, Nick.
Oh,
Is the door like locked or something? I don't know. I don't see anything behind these
Don't
doors.
jump down.
I didn't
No,
bring
no.
that. I
Oh.
didn't bring the ladder.
yeah, this isn't dead end.
Fine.
Yeah.
This is a dead
the
end,
other
yeah,
one
this is
doesn't even have anything on the map.
Okay, gang, light the way for me. I'm gonna make this jump.
So you're
Really?
looking in the
Okay.
main hall. There's more there. Wait, where you go?
Damn, nice job.
I did a sick jump.
I don't think that was necessary.
No, it was not.
It's not, but it's fine.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Alright, so that is a dead end
Fuck.
by the looks of it.
I don't think it is.
Do we just keep in a group or do we split up?
Whatever we want. Whatever it is, Nick should stay someone who is not Luke at the very least.
Yes. Don't be with me, Nick.
So, dead end, huh?
Yeah, you were right all along. So sorry for doubting you.
So to the right, there's more. Oh wait, no, you can't get there probably.
Maybe we jump.
Oh look, there's a thing I can interact with. Look, Steph's it.
Oh.
What is it? There's a door here that is open.
There's nothing in the door.
Oh. Did it close now?
No?
Yeah, okay, by the looks of it, I can't hack anything.
Also, don't forget to
What the hell?
right click sometimes.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'll stay with you next time.
I mean, you
see what's going on.
Someone died?
My flashlight went up.
Well, yeah, the battery probably ran out.
Will want to use.
Oh, my battery.
My battery ran out right now.
You shouldn't be using your flashlight all the time because that's when it runs out. Hi. Where's Nick? Was Nick with you?
Item beyond the door.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Clone? Where's Clone?
Yeah, he did it.
There's an
Where's
item.
Clone?
Looks like this is it.
Nice.
Okay, so,
Clone is here, Clone's here.
Find some stairs that I can't see on my map. You gotta come back.
I can't see anything. It's so dark.
But yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta like ration your flashlight for when it's really necessary, you know?
So like now?
Yeah, like in there.
Does no one else have a flashlight?
No, Nick does.
I
Nick is just not
do.
using it all the time.
Oh.
And also you can't see Nick, so...
Yeah, I can't even see the flashlight if Nick is using it. Oh, this is an empty ass place. I don't see a single item.
The stairs now,
What did you say?
Oh, here.
I walked it.
or were the stairs there? Did you just go upstairs?
No, it was just a dead end.
Okay, yeah. In that case, I think you've seen everything, unless the map isn't showing me something
I don't know this
I
is.
need to see.
This is a dead end, but it's weird. What is this path?
Dead end, yep.
Well, it's a shoot, because this was like a facility at some point.
That end to me.
Yep, to us too. Also, there is indeed a mod that changes the player limit to like 8. It's great, we're using it right now to play with 5 people. And I've played it previously with 8. On stream, that was the first time I ever played it. Are we all together? Gang?
Yeah, I
can't
found
see.
Luke.
Clone?
I found Luke.
Oh,
Where are you? Okay, there.
Oh, okay.
but there's a path over here. I don't think we've been.
What is this pet? Oh, careful, careful, there's spiders in there. You can see the pet. Sorry,
Oh, yeah.
do you see anything on the radar?
I do not see anything in the radar, over. Just a bunch of red doors.
Okay.
Oh wait, there's an item further out.
Okay, but any red dots? Oh, there it is.
Yes, a red dot coming for you right now. It's
Shit,
running
shit,
past
shit,
you,
shit,
yeah.
shit, shit, shit.
What?
I'm gonna try to kill it. Oh, I'm gonna die.
I died.
Yep, I am dead.
Hi.
Oh, we all
everyone's
died. Let's
I
wait
couldn't see
until
where to run, so
Noodle
I
figures
just-
it out.
I read.
Gang?
Oh, maybe
still
we
there?
vote to leave earlier.
Yeah, but I wanna watch him figure it out.
Hello?
So yeah, I just didn't see where I could escape,
Yeah.
so I ran into a corner immediately and then just.
Oh, my hands broke again. Damn it.
Oh no.
I-
Everyone's dead, aren't they?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to kill the spider.
These
I
enemies are
ran.
so deadly.
Yeah,
ran.
they're just gonna leave.
That's fair.
Or not?
Maybe.
Maybe they don't know how. They also don't know that we can hear them probably, so they're not like
Well,
poison.
bye.
Fair enough.
There we go.
Gang, final chance. If anyone is still there, please respond.
Live.
Oh, there's
Liv,
something out there.
listen to
There's
us.
something out there. Do you see that?
No.
There was. Do you see it?
Oh, I
Yeah,
see
there
it.
is.
What the
yeah,
fuck is that?
yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah. Also,
I don't think we're gonna make our quota.
Alright.
Jody, mod in chat, can you please disable the Make Me Dab redeem for now? Because, well, I guess not necessarily, but because this game broke my hands again, just like last time, so
Hello.
I can't
Hi,
actually
okay,
dab.
So you did all die.
Yeah, we all
Everyone
died to
died.
one
That's
spider. We did a
spider
really good job.
It's weird. I don't know why it doesn't let me hack.
Okay,
It gives me feedback. It shows me a little animation, but it doesn't show me doors closing. It's just one door opening, and that's it.
Well, maybe that's just what it is. I don't know. I'll
Well, if
I'll
it doesn't like
I'll
close
stay.
it.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, but I'll stay over here this
Player
time.
number. I think
I can
that's
say
Nick.
mine.
Luke.
Hi, I can see you. I see you. I
Yay!
see you.
United at last.
Yay.
player number. I missed
how do you? Oh, there we go.
Player hashtag.
Yay!
Oh yeah,
you
that's
chose
sometimes
up
the
for
names
this?
are also wrong. Thank you very much,
Player
Jetty.
hashtag.
Friendship.
All right, let's.
Let's buy new stuff, I guess.
Do we still have money for that?
We're running out so
Definitely
bad.
did.
And we're also definitely not gonna make our quota like at all.
Fucked.
Absolutely not.
Well, not with that attitude you want.
I guess
I
not.
love, like, last time we crushed it, and it's like, maybe it'll be harder this time. Nah, it'll be fine. It's the opposite of fun.
Why soup? Thank you
Okay,
very much
but
for
have you
the egg.
considered?
You know, you should go out this time.
Let's do Val.
I keep dying every
Yeah,
time.
I do think my terminal was broken because it showed an N on the screen at all times, and also sometimes it would show it like I was already on the, like while I was on the monitor, it would show me the prompt to connect with the monitor. So
Yeah,
I
it
think
sounds like
it
you
was
just had a-
busted.
Did you
Sounds like
switch
there's a
off the players
bug.
around or not?
Huh?
Did you change the player around?
Yeah,
player
I just
around?
switch from time
See
to
the,
time.
the,
Yeah.
the white switch. Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
But that's
got
not the
there?
problem.
That was a ladder.
Oh, that's what that's who has a ladder now.
Well, I'm bringing the ladder.
Alright, we're losing it.
Yeah, we're definitely
What are
losing
you
the ladder.
talking about?
Listen, we're gonna lose everything because we're not gonna make our quota and we're gonna, you
I'm
know,
great.
get a game over.
So what happens if you don't meet your quota?
Hmm.
Great.
Everybody ready?
We'll see.
You got it.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have? Did we buy any new walkie-talkies?
No, we had like 49 bucks.
Cool.
Well, I've got one walkie-talkie.
Great! No one
I
can
can buy
talk
one
to you.
walkie-talkie and then 2 flashlights.
We should buy at least one walkie-talkie because if I'm staying back in the ship, I should have a
Yeah.
walkie-talkie.
Speaking of which,
Thank you.
I dropped it from real high. It might be broken.
It is.
Let's do that.
That did sound like you broke it. That can kill people, by the way. If that drops on someone, they die.
Drop the ladder.
Really?
Yes.
Don't drop it on someone else.
Don't do that. Don't do
do
that.
it.
We need the money. Come on.
Genuinely don't do it.
Don't do it.
I won't. I won't. I won't.
Okay.
Like, place it down somewhere safely. I want to see if I can climb it.
You got it.
Well, I don't think it works inside.
Well, let's try it out.
It sure does.
It sure does.
Oh yeah, you can
Can't
climb it.
click- No, you can't.
Oh, okay, you
says
can't do that
climb
inside.
E, but it just doesn't do anything.
All right. Have we ordered a new walkie-talkie and maybe one flashlight?
No.
Yeah, flashlight might
Well,
be.
I just heard Clone buy something, so
Yeah, it sounds
Okay,
like
Two
now-
flashlights and 1 walkie-talkie.
okay. All right. Everybody ready?
Yeah, make sure to stick
Yeah.
together in that case.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
worked out great last time.
I mean,
Yeah, but you have
all
no more
depends on us
shovels to
now.
defend yourself with. This is gonna go well, Chad.
Maybe
We're gonna be
what to
fine.
defend?
I miss my fucking hands.
No more
Oh, I
shovels.
took my hands, Piggled.
Oh, we're in Silent Hill as well.
we're so high up.
No, not anymore.
No, we're
I
fine.
was scared.
One
We
more
weren't
thing.
before.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might see a beehive on the ground. Don't approach that or die.
Okay.
Don't.
We can talk about
approach
trying to
that
steal
all
them
the
from
time.
big money later. Don't die or approach beehives, which results in dying.
You got it. Where's the thing?
It takes a bit.
It's which way is it? I don't remember.
Do you want ice cream? Creamy.
There it is.
Oh. Yeah.
They're having fun. So Chad, how are you guys doing? Are you having a nice evening?
There's a creature.
What? Already? I don't see anything.
Tiny little fucker.
It was so fast.
If it's small, then it doesn't matter. It's I didn't see anything on the radar, so you're fine.
It
Where-
was
where
the
do we
flying
go?
one.
It's okay. You're
We can get
good.
anywhere.
Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
What's Clone doing standing all the way?
Let's go in a direction, I guess.
Is Clone dead?
It's not dead.
It's Clone Dad.
I don't know where Clone is.
I don't
Oh
know.
my god.
Okay, wait, hold on. Is Clone dead? Is Clone dead?
Clone is AFK. Oh no, they're back.
Oh, alright, okay, thanks. Don't fucking scare me like that, jeez.
Gonna go radio silent until we get there, just so you know.
Roger. Oh. Okay, they're making it to the facility. I was like, how did Clone die so quickly? Was it the bees? Was that small creature actually a threat? But no. Is Luke getting lost? Uh-oh. Look, buddy. Oh. Damn, they're fucking gunning it or running. Was it to bees or not to bees? They're missing one person. It's Clone again. Okay.
We lost Clone again.
Yeah, he's AFKing again. How very unprofessional. They're not gonna keep the job like this. Careful, there's a thing coming your way.
Already?
Yes, like instantly. Okay, wait, it turned around. It's okay. Stop moving. The way you're heading right now, it's patrolling that hallway. There it is. I think they saw it.
Yeah, we left.
Yeah, I saw. What was it?
I have no clue. It was big and scary.
Okay. Wait, why are you coming back? No, you have to go in there.
We're going through a different entrance.
Oh, okay, alright, that's good then. Clone's actually gotten something. Oh my gosh! Vixie and all your viewers, hi! I would wave, but this game broke my hands for some reason. Hi, CEO Mindset, absolutely not. We here are just some low-class workers.
Found a bunch of
Egg.
shit.
Good job, Clone. Thank you guys so much for rating. I would totally wave for you right now, but I can't. I hope you had a really good time doing whatever it was you were doing. And hello, everyone. I am Zoe Gama Queen. I'm an artist and a variety streamer. And ow, fuck! And I stubbed my arm on my mic arm, so that's cool. And I'm playing Lethal Company with some friends. Yeah, you can't do that shout out anymore, Jody, because that would relied on stream elements. We should unionize. You're right. What are they doing in there? Okay, someone's coming on back. Luke might have died. I mean, not Luke.
Did Nick die?
I think Nick is dead.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick, are you dead? Ducky.
We got some items.
Yeah, Nick is dead, I think. That's good.
Yeah, we lost Nick.
Hey, go. Oh, hi, Nick. I can hear you.
What?
You
I can hear
can?
Nick.
What?
You can hear Nick?
Yeah, by the way, I still can't hear
He's
Nick
speaking
outside.
to you.
Nick's voice is still at the ship for me. It's permanently
He's speaking to you from the beyond. What
That's
is he
cute.
saying?
Oh.
That's
Nick,
fucking
tell
weird.
us
You
your
can still
wisdom.
hear
You know
him.
what?
Can you
Hey,
tell
because
We
him?
Rogue-
almost made
because
up
Rogue
Buddha.
just killed you.
Can you tell him I miss him?
Wait, hold on. If we like drop everything that we have,
Oh,
Which
I
is
thought
not
Rogue
mine.
just
There's
shot
not
you.
enough.
We need 4 gold. Like you can't sell a walkie-talkie.
Damn it.
We're missing like 4 items.
But it's very funny though that the mod has just created like a haunting moment.
Yeah, basically.
But I still didn't have any answer. Did you tell Nick that I miss him?
Nick can hear you. You can't hear Nick.
Okay, well,
You
what's
tell
Nick
him.
saying?
Why aren't you telling him?
Nick, Liv loves you.
I said I miss him, but sure.
Same difference.
It's
Was
not
there
the
a
same
response?
thing.
Hey, no.
Whoa.
We haven't met quota yet. You have to go back in
My
there.
clone.
You have to go
Fine,
back
we're
in
going
there.
Back, I guess.
We have,
I know, or like
4
find a
gold.
beehive or
Find
something.
A hive, that'd be nice.
Alright, I'll
Guys,
just keep
stay
watch
alive.
over you.
If you if you find a beehive, you have to do it
Wait,
with 2
Nick,
people. What?
Honestly, if I stay operator, I can communicate with Nick and watching you guys.
you can't communicate with us. Hey, can you open the fucking door? Thank you.
Hello.
Anyway, I'm going to look for a beehive. Bye.
Okay, wait, come back if you find one.
So
'Cause you
we
can't-
just
you
pop
can't
in
really,
and open
like,
some
get it-
brewskis or
Yeah, let's
yeah, let's just vibe.
let's just shoot the shit for. Actually, I should probably look at how they're doing.
Yeah, no, you really should keep an eye
Wait,
on them.
Green Clock just ran past an item. Shit.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh god.
Yeah.
Clone?
It's really close too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
was-
outside.
Did you? Yeah, I saw an item on the radar while you were walking.
Yeah, I found a hive.
Okay,
Run in and
Who
grab
wants to come with me?
wait.
it. Run in and grab it.
No, one person runs in and
No.
and provokes the bees to get the bees to chase them. The other person runs in and grabs the hive then, and then everybody runs back to the ship, and then we close the door before the bees get here and leave.
Alright, I'll provoke the bees.
Okay, Clone will grab it. I will close the door.
Here I go. Hi, bees.
This looks gonna go well. Please open the door. You have to open the door right now. Open the door.
There's creatures out there.
I
Who
know.
got the honey, though?
We got the honey. Wait, there's honey?
Did nobody got the honey?
Clone?
God damn it, Clone provoked the bees, I think.
No, Clone is just waiting for you, I think. Come on, gang. Okay, come on. Okay, they're gonna try again.
Okay.
Okay, and
Oh my god.
Luke is just walking. Okay, Luke has the bees. Oh no, Luke is first. No. Clone has to get in here first, because Clone has the hive.
Uh-oh.
Shit. Shit, the bees are coming. Okay, go, quick. Yes, in here,
Run.
in here.
I can't make this jump. I'm closing the door.
Okay, we're good. Okay, let's go, get out of here,
We
go.
did it. Alright.
We
now
met
let's
our
crack
fucking
open-
quota, gang, we did it!
Yeah, let's crack open a couple
Woo!
of cold
Are we
ones.
leaving? Is our ship going?
No, nothing's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're going, we're good. Yay,
Okay.
we did it!
Yay!
I'm actually so shocked that we fucking did it.
Yeah.
Despite the
We
lack
might
of
want to-
coordination, we did it! Yeah!
We might want to restart the server because I do really want to be on the monitor and hacking things, doors open and stuff, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
alright.
seem to work.
We'll go sell our profits and then
You
we'll do
got
it.
Oh my god, the moment you drop it, it just sounds like it breaks into pieces.
No, it just goops. It just sounds goopy.
Like peachy sweet.
What's that sound?
What is this sound?
Beehive.
No,
Oh.
I heard the voice.
Stop with the
A
beehive.
voice.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
scary.
it's over now, but there was someone talking.
No, I heard a loud clanging noise in the distance.
Yeah, that's what I
me
heard.
too.
Well, anyway, who wants to go see the company
happens
that we work
sometime.
for?
Oh, I do. Oh, dang it, I don't have anything to give to them.
No, me neither. Everyone took everything.
Everyone took
Really?
everything.
This is in a corner. There's a light there, that's weird. Well, anyway, here's how it works. We put the stuff on this shelf. All the things we can sell.
And then we ring the bell. Ding.
Yes.
Ding. Ding.
But it doesn't always work right away, so you might have to
Well,
click it a
I
couple
get it.
times. Oh, okay. Stop clicking. Stop ringing.
The fuck?
Is that what upper management sounds like?
Oh, hello.
Oh, hi.
I looked away.
That's all I
Guys,
Nothing
oh,
really.
careful.
It's just.
No, don't do that. It doesn't like when you do that.
He'll definitely kill you, bro. Okay.
What?
I'll get you.
Okay, so let's restart. let's go back into orbit.
Pranking that guy.
Everybody get back in the ship.
yeah.
All right.
So
It's very
impressive.
fun. It's very fun that you can just die like that. Also, hello, Crimson Flesher.
Hello.
And thank you very much for your egg. I'm actually there's like a couple eggs. I'm so sorry to J Biggity Bar and Big Iron Juliet for missing your eggs earlier. There's apparently another
So
one.
Liv, I know you
don't
like,
know.
I know you want to do that, but I would also like to do the mods. These ones.
I missed one more. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, that's
Did I forget
a-okay.
it?
That's a-okay. I do want to play, do it at some point where it actually works.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. So our new quota is higher. So let's hope that things will go better from here on out.
Yeah.
And now we can all go back to the lobby. It'll have saved the game, and we'll make a new one.
You got it.
See,
Wait, what do?
we leave
Quit?
the
It's
lobby.
it's because there's too many. There's like bugs and stuff, like not being able to see you and not being able to use the console good and stuff.
Just quit?
Yes.
Okay.
Ah, now I can finally play by myself. Just kidding, of course. Yeah, we ding dong ditched them. Is your ship bigger or is your FOV different? I wish my FOV was different. Maybe they changed it at some point, but my ship should not be any bigger. Invite, 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 and invite. Doesn't even say clone's playing the game. Where's everyone?
All right.
Hello? Gang?
Can you send me the invite again? It's not letting me join.
But I already did.
I know. It didn't
Wait,
work
Zoe,
for
can you
some
not hear
reason.
me?
I can.
Oh, I was talking to you.
Well, I
Okay,
mean,
yeah,
I can
no,
only hear
it's
you now. I wasn't able to hear you
not,
first.
Zoe's links aren't working for me. Can someone
Why
else
does it
send
say
me
we're
one?
playing stream avatars again? God damn it!
I can't use
Is it?
either.
Oh,
I
it
can't-
is.
Apparent-
Yeah.
This was not a problem last time.
I
God.
just
also-
love playing stream avatars.
Did you also have to close the lobby last time?
No? Well, yes, it did happen, I think. Shit. But this game takes a million years to start up. I don't have to do that every time.
Well then, let's let someone else make a host a thing. Maybe
Why
that
does
will
it
work.
take so long to start up?
Let's do that. Let's have someone else host, yes.
You got it.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll start something up. Okay, friends only. Max players. I don't know, 5.
Wait,
Yeah,
are,
5.
are we? We're friends on Steam, aren't we, Luke?
Yes.
I don't see you.
Are we not? No, I definitely have you on Steam.
Yeah. What the hell? Why don't I see you in game?
Man,
I see
Steam
you in
is
game.
functional.
That's really weird.
I cannot send an invite.
Well, I'll just try to join you myself.
What, Clone? How did you join?
But I
Clone, you're
won't
like-
be able
we
to
can-
join you
we can
because I
hear
can't
Clone.
see you.
No, I can't hear Clone.
Yeah, because Clone is still...
Okay, I got an invite from
Hello.
Greenclone, which works.
Join game.
Yeah, I can't
Hello.
send invites.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, Greenclone can send invites.
Man, this game is fucking
works.
functional.
Yay.
Well, it's almost like
Yay.
a mod again.
No, that's not... I don't think it's Mott's fault.
Uh-huh.
Oh
Because, like, the mod
everything
can-
looks different
I
now.
mean...
Yeah, your ship different.
Oh yeah,
You've got
I don't know how,
beds.
but there's a way to like move parts of the ship around, but I have no idea how to do it.
The mod could definitely be breaking things though.
I mean, just joining someone normally? I don't know about that.
Nosferatu!
Well, the problem. Stop, please. Stop. I'm trying to talk.
Okay,
Hard to
sorry.
focus. It might be partially because we're also launching it through a mod manager that then launches it through Steam.
That's possible, I suppose, yeah.
Like maybe it didn't break last time, but it could be a chance that it has a chance to break things. Anyway, I don't
Fair
have
enough.
anything. There's no thing in my sword. I'm broke as shit, bro. Sorry.
You having fun on your computer, Nova?
Yes.
Those might be. I can see Nick and the name.
That's good, that's good.
Yay.
So this might have fixed the big issue for me.
Play this game with controller?
Yay.
Let's start again.
Yay!
Starting
Please get
again.
out of the screen, I can't see anything.
We're starting.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
We haven't even
again.
bought anything yet.
Hello, the game
Have
has
we?
started.
Wait,
Have we bought anything?
walkie-talkies.
We have
No.
money.
Yeah.
We have nothing.
You start with nothing. You start with
I
some
don't-
money,
I
we
don't
could buy
think
2
we have
walkie-talkies.
Celestial body experimentation.
Apparently we had money. I didn't think I'd have money.
Let's not waste our money on things.
Not even a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, obviously we should get 2 walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
Did you? Did we get those?
Alright,
Fun?
let's go.
That's a rat son, baby.
Clone,
Okay,
can you
bye.
hear us?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Then,
I bought
Are
2
you like good to
walkie-talkies
play?
and
Cause you
2,
keep AFKing all the time.
That's because my mom is here.
So you're not that good to play then.
Walkie-talkie.
I have a flashlight.
Flashlights.
I want a walkie-talkie.
Okay.
Okay.
Yay!
Wait, who's gonna
there's another
monitor?
walkie-talkie.
I can stay behind.
Yeah, we need 2. So who's staying
Yeah?
in the ship?
Wait, we have 3 walkie-talkies, or do we?
I
No,
can.
we
I
only
can
have
stay
2.
back.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants?
Alright, someone give the walkie-talkie to Clown. Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright.
Okay.
Good luck.
See you later.
New creature data.
Wow. Yeah, if you scan creatures, they get added to the terminal and you can read about them. Which is useful for them. Gang?
Yes. Oh my god, your ADHD is not helping.
Where do you guys go?
I
a
don't
ladder.
know. I'm staying with Luke.
I'm down. Bye.
What are you
Where do I go, bud?
doing?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm
Hi.
running around while waiting for people for the game to be together.
Yeah.
E.
I was okay.
And I
I
stayed
thought you
with
walked
Luke.
back to Clown. Huh?
I thought Zoe did. That's why I was.
Yeah,
running.
exactly.
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
was
there's
running
you.
towards the ladder, but a different ladder.
Oh.
Speaking of which, ooh. The
Yeah,
ladder.
ladder. No, just kidding.
Oh my god.
I'm kidding.
Let's
Hey,
go.
door.
Okay.
Hello. We have.
Yeah, I guess launched it.
Yes, we're in the. Yep, everybody's here.
It's dark here.
Wait, can I see
Yeah.
your Nick? Okay, yes, I can.
Yes. Okay.
It's not as dark here.
I was
No,
just
there's lights.
Items in you, but
Blue thing, yeah.
I hear something from behind the door.
What?
There's
Nick, where are you?
I'm here.
Shh, shh. Sorry, everybody's talking. Gang, I'm trying to talk to Clone for a second. What's beyond this door?
Egg.
There's nothing behind the door, but like, there's a pathway forward.
I don't know what they said.
Ask again.
There is what beyond the door? Nothing but?
Nothing behind the door.
Okay, I thought you said something else also. Nothing but, and then like a pathway or something.
It's nothing but trouble.
Pathway. With items.
Wait, so there are items?
Ah, dang it.
I thought there was nothing.
I need to hold it a bit longer so you guys can hear me better.
Oh,
Wait. Oh, there you are.
Like 3 full items are in there.
Oh, there's a thing. I don't know what it is.
Okay, there's a okay, there's a landmine. There's a landmine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, landmines. Okay, yeah. Be
Let's
careful with that.
just test
What
it
do we do
first.
with that?
I would never.
It's we have one of us has to be sacrificed to stop the landmine.
Okay, yeah,
No, you can walk around it. Right?
Let's try it.
go right ahead.
Don't try. Don't. Oh, you see, you can walk around.
Okay, yeah,
it.
just go around it quietly.
This is.
So there's absolutely something behind it.
I can't see.
That room there on the left should have like a trigger in it, at least.
I hate the door noise.
Yes, I see something.
The door noise startles me every time.
It's not good. I hear another. Oh, okay. This big thing here is the power source for the facility. If we pull this out, it'll get dark, but it's worth a lot of money.
Do we take it?
Oh, okay. Wait,
There's
there's
a lot of money.
door here. Anything behind this?
Clone, anything behind this door?
That's the same floor that you were before.
All right, same hallway.
Grab it and run.
Okay.
Yes. Also, it like occupies your whole hands, so you won't be able to use other things while you're holding it.
That's fine. Luke is the only one who doesn't have anything.
All right, pick it.
Here we go. Let's go. Let's run.
Oh, this way. Look,
We
look,
have the
look,
power
look.
source.
We went this way. I thought the other way.
Oh wait,
Uh,
is it landmine? Or is it fine now?
No,
Oh,
it's not.
It's that might have their own battery.
I look. Hey, this is a science fiction video game.
No, it's not. This is real life.
Not to me, it
There's an
isn't.
enemy nearby.
I
I
heard something.
hear creatures.
Yeah, me too.
There's an enemy on the second floor, I think.
Yep, it sounds like it.
What is there?
An enemy.
I hear it walk.
What do we do?
I can't
Do-
see because you guys are on the
do you-
floor below.
Is
Clone,
there
do you know
different
there's like
ways?
another way out from here?
There is none.
My flashlight is almost out of battery.
Well, don't use it too much.
Go up there.
This thing gets light. The thing
All right.
gets light.
Said and done.
I could see if there
Don't use it. This thing gets light.
You
Okay,
gotta-
someone has to go up there and see if we can get past it, I think.
I'll go.
You sure?
Would you have an item?
Ah.
Oh.
Oh god.
The enemy went away. The enemy went away. Go.
Okay, alright, okay. The enemy went away. Everybody go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Which is the way back? Which way did we come from? Okay, go, go. Outside, 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 outside. Alright, we're outside.
I heard it coming. I heard it coming.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
close.
That was horrifying.
Hey, but we got the power source.
We got a power
Yeah,
source, we got some other small things.
Nice. Use ladder. I can climb ladders still? I can't. Oh,
Yippee!
There he goes.
I shattered my ankle.
Oh,
Ah, it's
bud.
fine. You don't need him. You don't need him where we're going. Space. Hello, clone.
How fuck would it be if we get killed by something
It's
now?
nice to find you again.
We have a
Hello.
nuke. It's great.
Yeah.
Get the climb.
You gotta jump at it. There you go.
I jumped.
We did it!
We did it. 50
Good job,
bucks.
good job,
Nice.
team.
I think we even got like enough for the quota already.
No, not quite. We need 50. Well, depends on what the little thing is worth.
I'll put him down.
Yeah.
Let's see, let's see, how much is that worth? Oh, it's 30. Oh, oh no, we have enough. Yeah.
Do we?
Yay!
Yeah, 80 plus 30
Nice.
plus 30. It's 130. We did it. Day one.
Well, what? Oh yeah,
Can,
right. We have
keep
a
that, and on the
re-
third day we can sell it.
Well, no, we have a total of 50, don't we?
No, 80, 20, and 30. It's 130.
Oh, for the apprentice. I'm the
150
apprentice. For me, the apprentice says
how-
value question mark
how do I
question mark
have
question
150?
mark.
How do we have
We won't get in
150?
here.
Yeah,
We
this
don't
thing's
know
worth-
the price.
It's just 80. This one's 20. This one's 30. It said so.
How's it? Is that 80 for you? For me, it's just question marks.
For me, it says
And now it says
130.
question mark, but
And
when
no,
you
oh,
enter
wait.
it says 80.
Yeah, this thing is 80.
Okay.
Oh, fuck it. Let's go.
It says
Take your word for it.
question mark for me now.
Bambalinas.
We should just get more stuff so we get more than the quota.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine anyway. So let's go.
Yeah.
Starting the ship.
Yay! I'm gonna be
really
outside
angry.
while we go.
So the thing about the quota is,
Do be
the
careful,
more
because
we
if you stay outside, you
the
die.
more we sell
Oh, okay.
over the quota, the more we get paid. Obviously, so we have more money to do. But also, the more we we go over the quota, the higher our next quota will be.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of like a trade-off. Do you wanna have a smaller quota, or do you wanna have more money to spend on new items?
So do we
More
just-
money.
More money!
Okay, who's
Obviously.
who's playing Truck Freak today?
Can I try?
Sure.
See if it works now?
let's
Alright.
I think that would be good.
Drop me a walkie-talkie.
I'll buy more. Wait, we can't.
Yeah, we can buy more.
Over here.
We can't.
Ah, merci.
Oh no, right, we don't have
Yes.
money yet.
We have 6
No,
bones.
wait. No money.
Flashlight for you here.
Right, someone else get that.
Maybe we should charge. Maybe do we need to charge him? I'll
I
charge him
already
anyway.
charged it.
Yeah, it's better to charge them.
Yeah.
Definitely,
same.
definitely.
Wait, I know how I
Miss
should
an
charge this
axe. Oh, I did miss eggs. Oh my god, how do I keep missing these fucking eggs,
Just
dude?
plug it in.
I'm so bad
I
at
just
this right
plug it in
now.
and they explode.
Caliptivity and Atrimtoa, thank you both
Cozy.
very much for
Wait,
the
wait, wait.
eggs.
Look at me.
Ooh.
Cozy.
Ooh, hey, that is kind of
Shiny.
cozy though, ain't it?
Right?
It's kind of nice.
All right, let's do
Yay.
campfire
You active as well.
stories.
Oh,
No,
Hey.
what?
Oh.
Hey,
Campfire stories.
once upon a time we quit to do our job.
I don't
Damn.
like that story.
what are you, some fucking
bad, go to work.
corporate
Bad story.
stooge
I
at
don't
the
like
hell?
it.
Sorry,
Aw.
I'm working for company.
Okay.
Oh shit, we didn't go to a different planet, so now it's flooding.
Uh-oh.
Well, gang, let's hurry the fuck up.
Okay, that's bad.
I don't feel safe.
Me neither.
I'll just follow you, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta.
All right, follow me.
You must. You simply must.
Oh,
Because the planet is flooding, right? So.
uh-oh.
Gang! Or. Commander! Command!
Did you hear a dog outside?
Was there. Apparently, we heard a dog outside.
Apparently what?
Do you don't hear weird
I'm
noises?
hearing something here too.
It sounds bark-ish.
I don't see anything on the radar.
Okay, thank you. I don't like that.
Just close, be careful.
Remember to
This is the place where
scan.
you went down with you. That is
Hey,
that's
there's
here.
another thing.
Plastic
Oh,
fish.
power shot. Well, alright.
Yay.
Well done. Those are the only items
Thanks for
there.
taking it.
Okay, thank you.
Fucking. Didn't work.
One thing we can do also is drop items in front of the door so we can like pick them up on the way back.
Yeah.
Like big items,
Maybe
like the
that.
power color.
Cloud, we can be careful. I guess problem outside is a good idea.
If Clone doesn't come back inside, then we have a problem.
Clone's back inside. No, that's not. That's Nate.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, we're good, we're good.
Why did we grab that as the first thing?
Yeah, that's not, I mean, if we get scared and run out from a monster, then at least we have that out there, you know?
That's true.
Oh my
And it's
god,
worth
you
it.
still have the same bug as before. Oh, there's an item here.
Oh,
There's a
Dude,
nice
seriously?
engine over here as well.
I wonder if you're just not doing it right.
I found an engine.
I mean, what is there to do wrong?
Found an engine.
I don't know, maybe there's just steps that I'm misremembering.
Guys, I have an engine. That's worth money, right?
But
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
Wait,
yeah, put it in front of the door.
beyond that door,
I don't
it's
wanna
safe.
go
There's
alone.
nothing there.
Okay, thank you.
Then
I'm gonna go in here.
Going into it.
I'm already lost. I don't know
Okay.
the direction.
over here. There you go.
We see a fire exit on the other side. A jump and a fire exit. There's a door.
And another door, yeah.
Alright, I'm back.
Hi, welcome back.
Oh, there's items. I don't know how to
Keep
get
thinking
there.
that the keyboard is a creature.
It's a single item, but I can't see a way to it.
You jump.
Do we want to make that jump?
All right.
Do you want to try?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Don't forget to crouch.
Dead end.
Oh yeah, good.
Should probably see how the others are doing, making sure they can actually make the jump.
Hi, I did it.
Hi, great job.
And so did Plum.
We did it, yeah.
Awesome.
What's that fucking sound?
What sound?
I heard a.
I didn't.
No creatures ahead or
I heard
anything.
a weird inhaling.
Okay.
That sounded
Luke did.
Take a right here.
All right. Luke did hear something.
Okay, I'll keep you updated if I see anything. Anyways, take a right here.
All right.
There should be a door there. And if you
Don't split up. What are you doing?
through it,
What are you all doing?
you see an item ahead?
I'm just making sure green is not
I do
low.
not.
Or is it
No,
right
everyone
here?
split up.
Oh yes, there's an item if you keep
Oh yes, two
following.
items. Nice, nice, nice.
Items.
There we go.
All right. I feel like we probably have enough
Don't
stuff.
see anything else on the
Yeah,
map
let's
right
get
now.
out before things start
Okay.
appearing.
Thank you. We will go. We will go back.
Yeah, those are currently in the down.
Luke,
Wait for a moment.
Nova.
Oh, there's a creature coming.
There's a creature.
Zoe's already done
Gang,
that.
creature. Let's go. Where's the creature?
It's still pretty far away. It's left
You can use the fire
left
exit,
the marker, but everyone stay close. Oh, what? Run.
Oh no, there's. Is that the creature? Was that it? I think I just saw it.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
It's the
Run. Let's run. Let's run.
Get back to there. Get back.
Everybody, get together. Get together.
Split up.
Where is together?
Here. Here. We're going together here. Nick. Okay.
There's an item further ahead. I don't know if you need to get it.
Nah, we're good. We're just gonna go home.
It's right around the corner.
Where's the exit? This is
We're
not
gonna
the
go
exit.
home.
Right behind you.
No, it isn't. We're lost.
Pretty close to the door.
This is deep into the place.
I
Fine.
got a pink.
Awesome, you got it.
Found a
Did we get
lava
it?
thing. This is the end.
Yes.
Oh god, we're really lost.
Okay, we are
We
lost.
jumped on the way.
You are lost? Okay, do you need
I'm
to
out of
go
battery.
back?
We would like to go outside. Luke, stop.
There's an item nearby though.
I think we've got enough items. We want to live.
Return from whence you came.
I think we jumped across a wrong one.
Yeah, we will try to start going back. I heard something.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. We also can use the fire escape if we
Monster
find.
coming. Monster incoming. Oh,
Monster.
and it's
Monster coming.
Okay, you got quick.
Which way?
You gotta go back. The other
That's the
way.
exact same way. as well.
What other way?
Behind you, right? Right now you're moving in the opposite
And it
direction.
is stuck.
But I thought there was a monster there.
Yeah, but it moves away.
Okay, the monster moved away.
Behind you and then immediately turn around.
Oh, where are you going? Where's? Oh my god.
This way, this way, this way, this way.
It's currently not
Everyone
moving,
just
so
goes and I don't know where.
keep moving
This
and then
door?
take a left. This door, yeah, and then take a left.
Okay, this way, gang.
Now take a right. Okay, and then monster coming.
Shit! Oh god! Gang, in here. Oh god, there's more than one! Ah! Shit.
Go back to the others. The monsters are running after a couple of other people.
Okay.
Okay, careful up to you two. I don't know how the others are doing. Let me check on them.
Oh my god.
The
Okay.
others die.
Liv is checking on the others.
Okay.
I think they probably died.
They're still alive, Zoe. Okay.
Oh,
Return
shit.
to that door.
They're alive. This one?
Yes, that's the one. Okay, now take
I hear them.
left.
What is this maze?
Gang, gang!
Hi.
The others on their
Where's
right.
the exit? I don't know.
Just stay here, stay here.
Okay, now everyone.
Watch out, there's a little ghost guy still following
The monster is
us.
still there, but it's not moving.
Okay,
So,
where-
okay, take a right.
okay, we have to jump. We have to jump this, I think.
The others are moving the wrong way, right?
Wow, they didn't make it.
Serious? Oh gosh, oh well, I guess it's fine. And not this way, it's the other way.
Oh my god!
Well, we're dead.
Yeah, we are.
Well, Zoe, it was nice working with you. The
Yeah,
others seem to be
it
lost
was,
and
it
moving
was.
the wrong way, and there's a monster coming for them.
Why was that place? That place kept going. Everything looked
Roach.
I mean, Liv was trying to guide us back home.
Oh no, we went all the way the loop.
Liv has to go soon. The water's
Oh
getting in the
my
ship.
god.
Yeah.
Liv is not noticing that.
Nope. Yeah. Okay. Let's vote.
Oh my god, they're moving back and forth between the wrong path.
Ah!
I'm sorry. I'm
the
sorry,
other
Nick
two
and
don't,
Clone, but this
trust
was the only way. I'm the beatbox and Zoe. I know you think it's funny.
Oh god. Oh
Good night.
god.
Oh god, they're gonna die.
Liv is so fucked.
It's
Well, I
just
mean,
so over.
the ship is leaving
No!
soon.
Yeah, but in an hour, the water is rising fast, and Liv is just not noticing.
I know. I think it'll be fine though. I think we'll be okay.
Oh my god, I just see this water almost halfway up the ship, and Liv is like, yeah, nothing's wrong. Nothing's
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, because Liv was just only looking at the screen.
That's bad.
Are they not bad?
I know.
Where the fuck are we?
I don't
No, they are
know.
dead. I see you Zoe's stream.
Well, hey, don't fucking screen cheat.
Screen cheat.
Yeah, Clone's looking at my screen. At the stream.
Oh. Oh my god, Liv, the fucking water.
It's fine. It's fine. Oh, Nick died. How'd you die?
Yeah, I didn't jump good.
Ah,
Hey,
same as us
Nick,
then.
Look at Liv not
the
noticing
same.
the water.
There we go. We're good.
I don't think
Well,
Liv noticed the
Oh, the other part is leaving
Goodbye,
due to
my
dangerous
friends.
conditions. Okay.
It was nice knowing you.
Hi, Clone.
Yep.
Yeah, they
Well,
were.
I cloned.
Cyclone. We're not very good at this, I think.
No.
And you know what? Yeah, I think if you have a lot of people, this just means there's a lot less chance everyone dies.
Oh my god, that was
course.
tense.
Liv, I need you to, from now on, pay attention to the water level in ship.
Just make sure
I
you pay
could not
ship to the.
see-
Make
No,
sure you
you-
pay
you-
attention to like the surroundings of the ship in general because it was flooding.
It was flooding
Okay.
bad, and you just weren't noticing at all, and it was flooding like the whole time while we went. So we were dead.
Okay, yeah, I had no clue. But besides that, I couldn't communicate with the others because they were like they didn't have a walkie-talkie and they were
I know.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And me and Zoe voted for an early leave because we were like, well, you're clearly not noticing the water.
Yeah.
Oh no, the thing automatically leaves if there's too much.
Well, yeah, we did that too, but it still takes an hour for it to leave, and before that happened, the conditions got too bad and left on its own. Also, thank you very much, Jody. Jody
Okay.
thinks we're doing great.
Yay! Thank
I'm
you,
the big box and Zoe.
Jody.
I mean, it's a
I
good
know
thing
you
they
think
won. We
it's
met our
funny.
quota, and now
And now we're just having fun, aren't we?
Yeah, now we're just fucking
But now,
around.
now
No,
we
we're
don't
just
have enough,
having
now we have no
fun.
walkie-talkies. Now we only
Well,
have
we have
one.
one walkie-talkie.
Yeah, that's literally one of the useless things.
We'll
in the
be
world.
fine. We're gonna go to Val and we'll be okay.
Yeah. That just means we can all party.
Yeah, everybody can go down there and die.
Everyone can go. Well, I'm not gonna die.
Plus, we can leave the walkie-talkie here,
And not lose.
so that we don't lose it if
Exactly.
you know-
I am bringing the giant screw.
Wait, I can
definitely don't. That is loot.
Aw,
Wait, I can store this.
I can have anything.
You can. It
guys.
doesn't really matter. I think that was too
No, it
big to
doesn't.
store.
I think it's too big.
Yeah, we could store the screw, but I think it's more important to just store actual equipment in there
Yeah,
and.
but I mean, we
okay.
have nothing else right now.
Fine. Okay.
Look at the metal pane.
I know.
I can grab it. You can grab it through it. I grabbed it. I didn't even open it.
Okay, shall we go?
Yes.
Okie
go.
dokie.
Planet?
This is
Did we change
better.
planet?
I did, yes.
Do we? Did we buy a flashlight?
We don't have
Nope, we have no
money.
money. Listen,
I
we just
bet
have to
it.
go. We just have to fucking go and hope that there is light and then we don't steal the power source.
Oakley
Yeah,
dokley.
don't steal the powers.
All right, someone's running. Bye.
But what if I? Oh my god, clone, please.
It's me.
Oh, it's you. Sorry, clone. It's just kind of your ammo.
That's true.
Where's
That's
Clone?
true.
Clone is with us.
Ah.
Where do we go?
I don't know.
Off the cliff. Yahoo!
Yeah, not this way.
It might be this way. You don't know.
Could be. Let's see. It's fine.
Oh my god, is that water?
Oh, that's pretty
Bye.
deep.
So fucking funny.
Interesting. I don't know how to feel about that one.
This is not the way to go.
Okay, okay, well, I'll come back. Sorry, there's a leak in my suit.
It's okay. It's okay. It's there by design. Otherwise, the oxygen can't get in.
Oh yeah, you don't want that.
Why does it get so ominous when you're in the water?
Cause it's funny.
You sure I can't do anything behind the computer?
I mean, you can. You can just look at us die and not be able to talk to us.
Is that a light?
I think it's just weird texturing or something.
Yeah, no, it's with texturing.
But yeah, if
Oh,
you
wait,
go
it's
right
I
into
see the building. I see the building. It's okay.
Just
Everybody,
be
careful.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is. Oh no, wait. This is fine. There's another bridge over there by the entrance.
Yeah.
Hey, that shit.
That is
get lost.
fragile. The bridge over there, we should only walk with one person at a time.
Oh, okay. How do you know?
Experience.
I keep forgetting you can scan.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, let's go.
I do it all the.
Scanning is very important.
Oh, good. We've got a light source in here. All right, nice. Let's go.
Don't split up. Green clock. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Hi,
I heard a picture already.
Gringlog. You do like gotta
Oh no.
communicate with the others more. You just not just run off so quickly.
Yeah, I can put my my voice now on not push to talk, so
That'd be useful because
Maybe like push to toggle.
this is better.
Oh my god, gang. Everyone is walking in a different direction.
Sorry, I sort of thought we were together now.
That's what it
Okay,
is.
come with me, gang. Follow me.
Yay.
What's that
Can
sound?
you see me, by the way?
I can see you.
I can see you.
I think the Saw films took place here.
You're right.
Thank you.
It's
Where is
okay.
it?
Okay, nothing in
Maybe we
here.
can sell it.
I
There's an
saw
open
it.
vent.
Crawl in there.
I'm trying. I'm sorry, Snake.
Oh wait, can we go here? Oh, cute.
Can we go where?
Can you go here?
I think we
am
just
the
leave
server
again.
Goblin. Welcome to my server room.
Oh, you can crawl in here. That's fun.
Yes, it's me, the server. Ah, you pushed me out of my house.
Yeah. Let's go.
Oh,
Let's go.
Yeah, sorry.
We got a job to do after
I don't
all.
think there's anything here, so we need
Do
to
we?
go this way.
Okay, this
To
way.
the dark.
It's,
Is there anything here?
Oh, there's a.
Wait, that's a dead end?
No.
It's a time to go in the dark.
Over here,
Go
gang.
in the dark.
There doesn't seem to be anything on the other side, sadly.
Come here, come here.
Where's-
Clown.
We're missing someone.
Clown.
Yeah.
Don't walk off. Okay, we have to make this jump.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, you
Out.
still
Okay, who's
good?
next?
Oh, she's dead.
Why did you? Okay, all right.
Yeah, she
So
went for
I
an
thought,
angle.
Oh, I just completely jumped wrong. I get it. I see.
well-
Yeah. Get this way. One after the other.
Hi, well, Liv's dead.
Hi, Noodle.
Wait.
Hello.
How you
Dead.
doing?
Oh, it was Liv. Oh no.
It's just
I
a
did
it's a
not
dead
see
end.
Yeah, I should have just jumped at it.
And it's a dead
What is
end.
this?
Oh my god! What the hell? There's nothing here.
There's literally nothing in here.
You know, this
Okay,
is
they have to
why I
f-
needed...
Okay, Clone
only
might
death.
know about the fire exit, which might lead somewhere
guess.
else.
Yeah.
Is there nothing here?
Is it really just a dead end? Yeah, it's just a dead end.
Clone, what are you
is
doing?
this
Just
place?
spring off.
Yeah, it's nothing.
But they did
So
find the
weird.
computer room.
I guess
I
that's
guess
what
we
you
have to
get when
find
you
a
get
different
Found the
place to light
computer
it.
room.
generated.
I guess we'll have
There's
to find a
another
different
one
place.
here.
Clone doesn't know. Okay,
There's
they can go
another spot
here.
Wait,
Oh, yeah.
doesn't know what?
Oh, shit, almost fucked up.
About the fire exits, potentially
yeah.
leading to different areas, I think.
This one at least you can see.
Okay.
But the door's already open. Doesn't mean we've been here before.
I don't know. Are they open?
No, I'm laughing because
They are
difficult to
open.
so endless, maybe like
Oh, yeah, there
way
they are, yeah.
worse. Like
Oh
the
no,
way
we've definitely not
easier
been here
one,
before.
it failed
Yo,
out.
jar pickles.
Hey, a jar.
I got a jar
I
pickles.
didn't even see
Yay,
where I
we got
needed to
something.
jump. I
That
just
is a
thought
little
I
jump.
needed to cross a gap.
I don't want to do too many jumps.
Oh, this is unnecessary.
I knew I had to jump.
do that
I did
jump,
not
I
realize where the jump was
Oh,
supposed to
is a fire
go.
exit an emergency exit?
Okay, that's good. That's good.
That's like an extra exit.
So
That's
we-
good.
Oh, I found a
We
fire
really need
exit.
to
So you
remember
just
where they
went
are.
like, you
Found a
just went
fire
like,
accident
okay,
earlier
I'll
map, I
jump,
thought it
and
was
then
just
you
a
went
different
quiet.
Yeah.
Ooh, the key.
I just jumped into the dark,
Find the
huh?
key as well.
And then
The
vanished.
pickles and the key.
Well, that's
Okay, so if
a little
you
bit.
find...
Just
You
two.
know, I
Yeah,
ju-
two
I
of us
jumped
died
down
for
there.
nothing.
Well, I
little
mean,
bit
I
more to
didn't
it.
die for nothing. I died
No, you
to
don't
give
have
you
to do it,
company.
maybe.
Oh, yay! Thank you.
Yay.
That's so nice.
Oh,
This
well,
is a
great.
door.
This
Yep,
door
can't
is
open that door.
closed.
D6. Someone could have opened
Wait,
that.
I have a key, I have a key.
But
No,
no,
not the
I
right
think
kind of
it's
door.
one of those electronic ones. I don't think a key works.
Yeah.
I really want to play this
it's-
game with
we
like
need-
4
we need someone
players
on the terminal
without the
for that.
mods and hope that it will
Yeah.
work properly.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe it'll work better then.
Worst part is I know there's
I
something in here. I
mean,
heard
it probably will. I don't know what like that computer console bug I've never seen.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it did the exact same
Forget
thing
what the fire exit was.
as it did before, where it
Forget.
told
Oh, a
me,
clown horn.
where it gave me the option to
I got a thing.
Great.
press
Oh, a
to
bell.
view
Find
the
a bell.
monitor
Nice.
without like
Maybe
while I was
we
already
have
viewing
have
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Press
think
E
we're...
It's kind of hard to
Yeah,
understand you. I'm gonna be honest, because everybody else is very
We
loud.
meant to code name one. We don't have to get more.
I'm gonna turn your volume
Yeah,
up
let's just
actually.
use the fire exit.
Talk again?
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
a
get out.
key.
How do?
Yeah,
Oh my
grab
god!
it.
Oh, I can turn them down.
So dark.
Yeah.
Okay, over here.
That's much better.
What was it?
Hey Zoe.
I.
Hi. So
Hi.
what I was saying,
This way,
it
and
still
then-
gave
here it
me
is.
the option to connect to the
found
monitor
This is
while I
the-
was already connected to it.
Oh, nice. Good job.
I mean, that's.
Like,
I think you can just do that, but then like it
Let's get
disconnects.
Okay.
No, it like gave me the E to
Oh, and down here. Okay.
access
fire exit I
computer
found. Right side.
thingy while I was already
Yeah.
connected to it, so it just
Ah,
hovered
that's a
over
good
there.
idea.
Oh,
Which
okay,
isn't
that's
supposed to
weird.
happen, I'm pretty sure.
No, I don't think it is.
That's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's weird.
Could be worse.
it's
that's
odd.
okay.
Also, I can't believe Chet fucking sold my
please.
gauntlets at the pawn shop, dude.
Do we do it?
What, dude?
get
Yeah,
me
after I
fuck?
died. That's honestly
Let's
fucked
go
up,
dig
gang.
and
gang.
build.
It's so bad.
Do we get the bees?
Those are supposed to be like an international
They're
treasure,
just
you know?
around.
What if we did?
Did they get anything?
Okay, there
Are
we go.
They get a jar of pickles.
They
That's
got
all
a
they
clown
got.
horn.
And a clown horde. That's
You
also.
got an enemy.
They didn't even try to use it. Like I'm so sad.
God.
I know if you had gotten it, you'd have used it.
Got some.
Oh, I would have been straight up like,
Yeah, you'd have been fucking annoying with it, you know?
wow, okay.
Nice.
Affectionate.
Well, the fucking didn't really help.
I'm
No,
sorry.
no.
Why not?
Why do you got so many keys?
Because you'll die.
Okay, well, we're gonna lose Luke. Luke is running out in the woods.
Oh my god, it's nighttime. Why are you doing that?
Luke and Grinklong. Oh my god.
Give Shadowy the scroll. Thank you very much for
the
following.
ship to leave early, I guess.
This is not gonna go well at
I
all.
think they're here. I don't know where the bees are.
I'm gonna vote.
I lost the bees.
I'm not. I want to see this play out.
Uh-oh. Why is my vision darkening?
Because it's night.
Are you watching Luke right now?
Yeah, I love that Luke is like, oh no, why is my vision darkening? Because it's nighttime, buddy.
Hey guys,
Oh my god.
I don't know where the bees are. Something's
Oh,
coming.
Ooh, terrifying
Yeah,
noise.
get in.
Did you hear that loud noise in the distance?
Yeah, I did. It's so
That sounded
fucking
really-
necrotic as well.
That sounded
I'm
really bad.
gonna go take a bathroom break. Oh wait, no. Never mind. I see that it's
like a
almost break time
dinosaur
anyways.
enemy.
Yeah, it is.
Why did you open the
I
door?
think we'll just take a break
I wanted to
instead
see if I
of
could
start
see it.
another session.
No.
So once we're back in the ship, we'll take a break.
Yeah.
Hey, we did pretty good.
Liv and Zoe should come in again.
Any moment.
No, we stay out. We're just dead for permanently.
There they are.
Yay, there we go. Finally someone actually uses the horn.
I did
Hey! Why didn't you? Why was you annoying with it when you picked it up earlier?
because I didn't know you could.
But you didn't even try.
That's enough.
Where's your whimsical
Listen,
inquisitive spirit?
Gang, be quiet.
You can use the terminal to route the autopilot to the company building.
Ooh, it's telling us how to play the game.
It is, but it's very quiet.
Yeah.
So how do you go back to the main place?
Company.
I already said us.
Can I
What do you
have
mean?
that?
What do you mean company?
No.
Oh, you typed company into the computer.
want
Sorry.
that.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna clog it with
All
my
right, let's
finger.
sell our stuff and not make quota probably.
Let's not sell the clown horn.
No?
Oh no, wait, we are gonna make quota. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, we made way more than we needed.
Yeah.
Can I sell one of the things now?
Okay, sure. Here you go.
Yeah, we are.
Yay!
No landing.
I'm going to.
Let's
I
land.
looked a little sleepy. I'm sorry.
Destroy that horn.
I noticed that. I notice when I'm streaming horror games, I tend to like shrimp just a little bit more. I don't know why. It's
Oh my
weird.
god, I'm shrimping as well. Good
Yeah,
that
everybody,
you
make
said
sure you're
that.
not shrimping.
Hazard level 6.
Oh my god, the echo on the clown horn is so good. Do not sell that. We need that.
Wait, hold on,
sell
Nick.
it.
We
Wait,
need
wait.
the clown horn though.
No, I really
Wait, hold
want
on.
you
I want
sell
to
it
before we sell the clown horn. Don't sell the clown horn because I want to show something. Also, Squid. Can you put the clown horn on the floor real quick? I want to show something with it. Thank you. Check this out.
Oh my god, who's rang it out? Watch out, Zoe!
Oh, right. It doesn't like the clown horn. I
It's
forgot.
making noise.
Please sell the clown horn.
It doesn't like us anymore at all.
No, it hates the clown horn.
No, don't get
Does
close.
it?
There we go.
Sell the clown horn.
I mean,
I know it was the clown horn, Jody.
we're good, right?
Condom money.
There we go, we got our
I'll go
paycheck.
buy some-
I would really
Hooray.
like it if that
Did we
I
make
didn't
it?
have to hear that noise for a long time. Please.
Come on. Come on.
We don't sell it.
Oh
No,
no.
I don't. No, they
I'm just teaching
Wait, no,
management.
no!
Oi!
Please let me in, please.
Let me
Sell
in!
the horn.
Please.
Let me in!
sell the horn. Sell the
Fine.
horn.
Okay, sell the horn.
Fine. Items. Wait, hold on.
What did it drop?
It
Oh.
dropped a walkie-talkie.
A walkie-talkie.
Just one?
Hello.
Let's check out the bell. I think we just did.
What's down there? What?
Secrets. Dude, that horn was actually, it sold for a lot.
Aw, I missed the one.
Listen, now we can afford lights and stuff, you know? And
So?
and shovels.
We don't have a horn anymore.
I should be
I have
reading those
found them
entries. I
all.
should be being like, whoa, I'm so interested in the lore.
Sorry, what was that?
We're picking up lore, and I'm like, damn, I should be looking into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I
Everyone ready for flashlights?
wanna get flashlight.
This one's yellow.
Throw
Yeah, that means it's
flashlight,
better.
Becky.
Got it. How many flashlights did we buy?
They were 5.
Oh my god,
They're on sale
why?
right now, so we bought extra.
Nice. So the yellow flashlights give better light and last longer.
Awesome.
There you go. So any extra...
Lightsaber duel.
Eh.
Here
Here we go.
It was literally cheaper than
Why not
regular
why?
flashlights usually are. Let me see what else is on sale. A jetpack is on sale 50% off for $350. We can't afford it.
Oh.
Oh wait, we can.
I also feel like a jetpack just isn't that useful. We tend to be in
Wow,
enclosed
okay.
spaces, aren't we?
Well, okay. Here's my.
That's
thing.
a very.
No, my main thing with the jetpack is whoever's using it will die because they'll it'll be one of us using it, which means they'll get distracted during the use and not realize it's out and then fall to their death.
So true.
So, in other words, the person watching the monitor needs to wear a jetpack. Because they're not gonna use it.
True.
It's a fashion accessory.
Alright, are we all here?
We can.
I am.
So,
Yeah.
it's close. Yeah. Okay.
How much money do we have?
We can buy a shower.
Are you trying to say something
That's not
here?
useful. That's not a useful item, but we can.
You're trying to fucking say something?
I assume it's not
huh?
useful anyway. There's a big horn we can get, which is vaguely useful because it draws monsters to the ship and thus away from anyone outside.
But hey,
Hey, Nova.
how many walkie-talkies do we have now?
I've got one. Nova, I think I think we call us Stinky.
Look. Oh,
Not
never mind.
rude.
But do we have more than one?
Yes, I have a walkie-talkie.
I like when people in chat like know it's coming. That's very fun.
I'm on the ship.
Don't launch yet. I bought something.
Don't
Yeah.
launch it. I'm outside.
There's a race sticker.
And
Very
also
fun.
needs to make a break.
There we go. Thank you very much, Derek Foxwood, for the sticker. A whirl is basically the most pleasant thing for your mother to be in. That's true.
Can you grab his body? Thank you.
Did someone die?
Zoe, you missed the most hilarious shit ever.
What? Who died?
Liv was like, Liv, it was like, can you get crushed by this? Squish. Instant death.
They would. Are you selling their body?
Yes.
What the hell? Okay, now we get
This is not
penalized
What? Why?
because we can't recover the body.
This is
Oh. Oops.
Well,
What happened?
great. Liv got crushed by the dropship, and then they sold their body.
What? All right. By the way, I went off in that direction and it just keeps going. And then at some point the fence ends, but you can keep going.
Egg.
Just nothing over there, but the ambience slightly changes the further you go. So I'm like, well, it's gotta be something, right?
Yeah.
Like this wall ends as well, and then you get a new wall. It's like, and then there's some sort of structure. Like the fence ends here.
It does.
What's this? What feels? Feels like safe hazard level safe might not be true the further I go. You know what I
Maybe,
mean?
yeah. This definitely
Doesn't
feels like
seem-
some sort of Eldritch kind of deal going on.
I don't know. Did you see the store, the buy guy?
I know, I know.
Whoever buys that stuff is interesting how they're put together. There's a wall over there, I think, or is it just the color of my vision? I can't see.
I don't see anything.
It feels like there's an end over there, sorta. But it just gets wider this path the further we go.
Oh god, you're right. I think you're
What's
right.
happening? We're just gonna get grabbed and die.
Yeah, probably. That'll be funny.
That'll be great.
I'll get that egg later.
Egg.
Alright,
Nick
Mark.
and Clone are just now like, where the hell is Zoe?
Yeah. They can see on stream. It's fine.
I'm not. Hold on. It feels like. Okay, here's one of those outcrops again. it
Oh wait,
just
is it the
keeps
end?
going.
Okay, I think we've reached the end. Look at the ground. Yeah, that's the end.
Hey,
Yeah.
hold this.
No! No! Okay. I guess now I have to walk all the way back on my own. Can't believe we did it. We beat the game. And now something's gonna come out of the dark and grab me and kill me. Who will she kiss? Oh my gosh. Who will I kiss? I mean, there's no girls on the team right now, so we'll have to find like an alien girl. I have to walk so fucking far now. Why'd I do this? But still, why did I like to walk for so fucking long? You know? Like, what's the point? Just for scaries. But there's not even anything to find. Like, if at least if you go below the platform with the ladder, there's like a lore bit to find, you know? But here there's just nothing. Is that someone standing on the ship? Can they see me? Are they looking at me? Hello? Hello? Oh, they got
Hello,
the...
Zoe.
I just realized you guys got the jukebox. Damn, is this where the party is? Yeah!
Party.
Is Nick AFK?
I think so, yeah.
Well, shit, okay. Luke is dead.
What did you do with him?
Nothing. He just jumped off the pier into the ocean and gave me his lantern.
Are you sure about that? Are you
Yes,
sure
you can
didn't,
look
throw
back
him
on the
down?
stream. I have proof.
I was watching. What the?
Think-
What was the noise?
I think Nick is coming back. Same brain.
You're having a disco party.
Yeah, Luke is dead.
Wow.
Just jumped off the edge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Let's go, gang.
Okay.
Let's go. Oh wait, no, don't go yet. Oh wait, we can go to the orbit, I guess. But, like,
Yeah, we can go
to
into
the
orbit. No, we're not gonna go to a new planet. We're gonna take a break. Silly.
Yeah. I love this show.
Oh, I suggest that when we get to a planet, we turn that off because it's gonna attract monsters.
I am back.
Oh.
Welcome back, gang.
Oh, hi.
I am back from the dead, and I need to tell you something.
Okay.
Do not trust Zoe. Luke didn't jump off.
Shut the fuck up. Yes, he did.
I was considering saying, I can't believe you killed me, Zoe.
Come on. I'm nothing but so niceys. I don't
No, that's
deserve
why
this shit at all.
That's why I only considered it, and unlike Liv, didn't do it.
Hand on shoulder.
Well,
You're,
hey, I
hand on
was,
shoulder.
you know-
I trust you so much.
I'm just look. I
You're
wanted
so
to
dear to
know
me.
my worth.
Oh, you gotta hug it.
But like, you,
I
you
wanted
should've
to know my
you
worth,
should've
and
seen
it's
it
$5
coming, and
bucks.
At one point, I would jump
$5
off
bucks.
because that's all I did in one of her, into like seals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I should have seen it
Like
come. I was kind of expecting it too.
It's my at least I had the forethought to give you the flashlight.
That's very good. It's very
Wait,
good of you. I
did
might not
anyone-
have.
Did anyone pick up the shit I dropped when I died?
I don't think you drop anything when you die.
Yeah,
It was
no.
dropping on the ground.
I don't think it drops shit.
No.
You don't?
You just die and then you keep everything when you die.
Huh.
You lose. Well, you
Okay.
lose everything when you die. I guess is what better lives.
Woo.
Okay, but-
oh.
Stop.
Woo.
Okay,
please.
gang.
We're walkie-talkie here.
Gang, it's time to take a break because I have to do my astrogel.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Tell.
So I will we'll be taking a 20 or so minute break during which I will do my astrogel. During that time, please remember to take your own medicine if you have to. Make sure you stay hydrated, stretch your leggies, get some snackies, and listen to some nice music. All right, everybody, are we all ready to do a break?
Music time.
Sure.
Okay, cool. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bro, what are y'all doing?
We're dancing.
I don't know. I feel
Put two beating hearts together, stitch the seams and pull the levers. Strange desires, sparks and wires. I sign the dotted line and tethered yours to mine. No anesthetic for hearts electric. Parts start to decay when just your shadow half remains. The operation had complications, and the part of you that died, I'll carry all my life. Lovers slowly decomposing, so it goes. Could have been paradise, could have had diamond eyes that held so tight that I lost her. We could have been fireflies, but that fire died, dead and gone. I was wrong, love's a call. I'm a monster.
Monsters. Monsters. Monsters.
Hope lingers on after the one you love is gone. Thought I smelled your ghost in my winter coat, and our love became a void, another echo in the noise that can't erase what we became. We could have been paradise, could have been you and I played the fool, and you played the martyr. We could have been fireflies, but some fires die. I meant no harm, we were both wrong. Moving on. I'm a monster.
Monsters. Monsters. Monsters.
I'm being pointed at. My god.
Wait, Zoe, look at my hand.
Your hand?
My finger is fucked up.
Your finger is the same one as everyone else's. Sorry, bud. Yeah, where did Liv go?
Like I'm gonna.
Liv had to go.
Liv
Oh.
went. Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Like, Zoe, look at the like at this code. This is how my hand looks like on my end. And I think.
Yeah, that's just how it
Nick
looks.
also saw it weird.
That's just how it looks. They're just weird hands.
It just looks weird.
The hands are just weird in this.
It never looked like this for me.
Which finger are you talking about? Pointy
finger.
one?
For me, it looks like it points upwards.
Y'all mind if we get a new fifth person in here, maybe?
Sure, I'm fine either way.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't need a fifth person, but if you want one.
I don't know. I just think it's fun if there's a little bit more people. But we don't have to. You okay? Hand on shoulder? You can say no.
I don't know. I'm the only one really responding.
Yeah, I don't really have an
Yeah, I'm
opinion.
fine with like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 4 is fine.
Okay. Well,
We
Jody.
have like someone that really wants to join from the Jody or so.
Jody at least said that she was gonna be available. And I see her in chat, so
Do you want to join in, Jody?
yeah.
Do you want to join in, Jody? Pointing at you, Jody. Pointing at you with my fucked up finger.
You can join Jody. You can come have fun. And I got something in my fucking eye.
Oh no, is it your eyelash?
Perchance. But I think it's crusty leftover makeup.
Access
Anyway.
file secured.
Jody's here now, but nobody can hear her yet, so she'll just have to join the game.
Okay.
Dang, hold on. I don't have. Can't invite her.
I mean, she should just be able to join me, I
Wait,
think.
I should have. Oh wait,
What's
you
my
can't invite
eyes?
her anyway, because we're in the middle of a lobby.
Right.
We need to make a new lobby.
Do we?
Okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, like, drop in, drop out would be a thing. It isn't.
No, because we're here right now. You should just be able to join right now.
Alright, let me try then, because I don't think so. What? Actually,
There's no. The invite button doesn't
Jody
work.
as a friend.
That's true. Okay, I suppose we do have to make a new one then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, everybody get out of the lobby then.
Alright.
Boop, boop, boop. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, good. I'm just launching the game. Sorry.
That's okay.
This mod manager thing is confusing,
I know, it's okay.
but I've booted it up. I am fine. Right. Can I
It's
actually
okay.
join off your Steam avatars?
Oh, I
your
have
Steam
to-
avatars.
I have to move your PNG. You're a little autism creature.
A little crimcher.
You're a crimcher. There you go. Well, now
Thank
you can,
you.
while we wait, you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jody.
Go on. Hello?
You can find me on Twitch or TV4 Loop. Hello.
I think you
I'm
might have
not
cut me.
bisexual. I'm a lesbian.
Okay, good. I'm no longer alone. So happy. Is the company lethal? Quite so. We've been dying constantly. So, Hectic Sketcher, thank you very much for following. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to Mario Kart. Except not
Thank
really.
you so much. Who's making
Who's
the
making the
lobby?
lobby? That's a good question. I was kind of assuming Luke would do it again because it didn't go well last time I did it. Where's my eye so fucking itchy, dude? Must mean I should go to bed.
I'm not a reindeer, I'm a jackalope.
Why people always thinking you're a reindeer? You don't have reindeer ears. Or snout.
So that command doesn't work anymore, clone.
No, don't.
It,
Hello? Who was coughing? Me when there's Dracula. Who was the coughing?
who? But
I guess
who
I'll,
was
I'll
phone?
I'll host, I guess.
That was me.
Alright, yeah, for stream avatars, right, yeah, that doesn't...
Hello.
Oh, it does work for stream avatars, that's true. Anyway, I'll make a lobby.
Oh, Luke's game crashed.
Oh my god!
Amazing.
I don't blame the mod.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can join off you.
Yeah.
No, it just says invite to watch. Why does it not work? It worked last time. What happened?
I don't know! I don't get it. Okay, well... Someone else. You, Jody, you make a,
Me?
yeah,
Okay.
you make a lobby.
Host. friends only. Dynaloops crew, confirm. Okay, I've made a lobby.
Okay, so let me see if I can join you. Yes. Hello.
Hello. Oh, yep. There's
Yep, we can hear each other twice now.
Yes. Okay.
Woo!
Hooray!
Hooray!
Okay. Alright, we're all here.
Hello.
Yay! Hello.
So do the muty thing on Discord. Jody, you don't have to like mute. You have to right click on the ear, the headphones, and then turn output volume to 0.
There we go.
Okay, good. There we go, and now we can play again.
Fuck. Although we've lost all our stuff.
That's
All
okay.
your stuff, rather.
It's whatever.
It's a whatever.
It's a whatever. Did I do bumps on the socials? I think I did.
None
Yes, I
of
did.
this
Okay, good.
matters. Nothing matters.
Nothing matters. I'm a nihilist now. Let's go or don't. I don't care.
Okay.
We're not all gonna die anyway.
So we need $130, and
We should go to the planet Titan.
Titan.
It's foggy right now, so that'll be fun.
Oh, nice.
Yay, fog.
It's also one of the 3 hardest planets.
So the first.
Who cares?
It also
Let's
costs like
go!
$600 to get
Yeah, let's go!
Oh wait, you need more money to go there. That's stupid.
Okay, so I guess we're landing on experiment then.
Damn.
Shit, we can't.
I guess we go to experiment, yeah.
Okay, I'm hitting the button.
Right, we're already there. Okay,
Okay, we're here.
should we buy 2 walkie-talkies?
Oh.
We probably
Yes.
should, yes.
No, we don't have any money.
Well, we should have
any.
some money. Wait, we have 6. How do we have $6? Shouldn't you start with some money?
I already bought everything.
Okay, well, just tell us that then. What did you buy?
Yeah, I said like in the beginning, I bought stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what did you buy?
2 walkie-talkies,
Okay.
1 flashlight, and 1 shovel.
All right.
Nice. That's a good amount of stuff.
1 shovel because it was on 50% off.
Wish I had $6.
Who's gonna stay behind then?
Yes, who wants to be the person in the chair?
I can. I'd like to try.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
All right.
Okay.
I don't
Ice
know
cream.
how it works.
Okay, I will tell you.
Walkie-talkies.
Nick? Okay.
That's good.
Shovels for killing. Give me shovel.
If you left click,
Unless you
can
want it.
punch someone.
Here you go.
Yay. I also wish I had $6. That'd be awesome.
I have the flash.
Nick.
Where are you, Nick?
Is that Nick?
I got a walkie-talkie for you.
Yeah, I have a walkie-talkie.
Ah, okay,
Alright.
okay.
I have one.
So
So,
everyone got 1 item. So it
Yes.
was the shovel.
me.
Jody
So
got
what
the
you're gonna do,
flashlight.
Nick, is
Yeah.
on the screen you can see us, and you can press the white button on the side to switch between us.
Yeah.
You can also see us on the terminal if you type in view monitor, and then you can also type switch or switch and then a name to switch to the camera specifically.
Okay.
And you'll be able to see
You okay?
you'll be able to see threats in red, or locked doors in red bars, and green triangles. I'm going to read them in a moment. Green triangles is loot for us to collect. And if you see like a code like T6 or something, then that is a device that you can interact with, such as a door you can
Okay.
open or close, or a turret you can temporarily disable.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Okay, see you soon.
Where's Clone
Bye.
going? Clone
know,
has
Ross
run
is
into the
kinda going.
facility.
Clone!
Don't let him go.
Clone has the only walkie-talkie. We've got
Oh
to
my
catch up.
god!
Why is Clone like this?
I don't know. They're going to get that bag. Hashtag grind. Hashtag fuck my job. Hashtag it hurts.
There you are. Don't run ahead. We need you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You are
I
our
can do
only
that.
communication.
Yeah, I can.
Also, can someone in chat go into the Discord and put stream suggestions new webcam donation goal because I want to change it to that. Are we all in here? Okay. We should probably stick together, gang.
Don't jump. We've seen how you jump. Don't jump.
I want to jump.
Of course you do.
Did I just hit someone? I don't know. I don't know. It was an impulse. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Did you just...
I'm sorry.
Did you kill Clone?
I didn't kill Clone.
No,
I just almost hit someone, I think.
Oh, guys,
Okay, no, you did hit me because I'm at like...
Oh, the goop! I've never seen the goop before. That's the goop, dude. That's the motherfucking goop. I mean, you gotta tell Nick to do it.
What?
The goop.
Can you close the door?
Don't touch it.
It's the goop. Yeah, we see the goop.
What did the goop do?
This is a
It kills you if it touches you. It's acidic.
Oh, hi.
Oh, there's a closed door here. Open the door! Open the door! Open the door!
Open the door, Nick!
Help!
Okay.
Nick!
Nick, Zoe says to open the door.
Ah!
Are you two okay?
No, we're about to be killed by the goop.
To be opened.
To help! Dude, get back, get back, get back, get back, get back, look! No! No! Oh, the door's
Are
open.
you communicating, Clone?
Okay.
No!
No!
Clone, get out of the slide!
Just naked? What the fuck?
I'm safe, I'm fine.
Oh, it's Jody.
Yes, me.
Jody
Oh my
died
God.
to the slide.
No, I didn't. I'm behind you.
That sucks.
Everyone looks the same.
Hi, gang.
Hi.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna run around and get Luke's body.
Clone, can I swap you?
Yeah, we're just taking Luke's body.
Can I? Okay, let's get out of here. Come on, this way. So
This went well.
The spiderweb service.
We'll get you home later, buddy.
Okay, what do...
Wait, come back inside. We're not done yet.
Go a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
We haven't been in this direction yet, have we?
Is there any other threats nearby?
No, that's a dead end. I've already been in here.
Okay.
Upstairs, though. Upstairs is also dead end.
Is a hallway we
Damn it. Well, there was a jump we could make.
Do you want to try and make that jump, Simon?
Oh, the
I'm gonna make that jump.
The slime's on the other side of that door.
I'm sure it can't get through.
I mean, there's a way around.
Who wants to... This is a jump, so...
Is there a way around to jump, though? Don't think there is.
Okay, the slime is there.
Yes.
Yeah, alright, there's nothing else here. We have to make the jump, gang.
Wait, you guys take this. Wait,
What?
you guys take this.
Okay.
I'll go make the jump.
Hi, it's me now. Oh! Hello. Oh. Huh. I got a donation of $8. Thank you so much. 8 euros. Thank you. I do notice now that the donation bar doesn't properly work. So that's nice.
Okay, you go. Why did you try and make that jump? You've got half the stuff.
Because we have to go this way.
I already checked everything. There's nothing here.
God damn it. Anyone feel like the slime is making its way through the door?
Yeah, I'm feeling that too. I think we should leave. I don't know anything else here.
All the way through that hall, that's the slime.
Sorry about that.
There's a thing there.
Alright.
Right again. No, different. Right.
Where is the...
Go forward, then to your right.
Zoe?
Okay, then keep going.
Yep.
Zoe?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, I was just singing the word.
This way?
Yep.
Oh, we've been
And
this
then
way.
Right again.
Alright.
And then right again. There's like a small... There should be like
There
a
was
small...
nothing really here, so...
hallway, and there's an item right there.
Alright.
Oh wait, there is more down. I didn't notice the staircase before.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's supposed to be
I think we
items here.
Yeah, go out,
I think we're in severe danger of blowing ourselves off.
Oh, okay. Backwards, backwards.
Yeah, now
Why?
Also, thank you very much, guy, for testing it.
Go like past an edge there.
New creature data added.
I assume that's the spine.
Clone?
Yeah.
This is a dead end. I just wanted to see if you were dead.
Yeah, go back. At some point you go over a bridge. But before that bridge you need to go right, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you mean. This one.
You're going an entirely different way, but I see something.
Guys?
Someone found something.
Yeah?
Oh, I heard a weird noise.
Cool.
The other thing might be hidden
Let's go
over
this way.
This door is locked.
Oh, I can't open that,
So-
unfortunately.
I'm out of flashlight battery. I think we have to go back.
Okay. We don't have a flashlight anymore, so we're gonna come home.
That's fair, I'll see you in a bit then.
Ideally. It's also, I assume it's also getting a little bit late, so, yeah. This time.
We should hurry up. Hey, run away, run away.
If
Like
you
3
go
ways
left,
around
you can
there.
circle
This
around
way.
it.
Come on.
I'm hiding the
Can
slime
I?
over here.
Yeah, there's
there's
tons of space. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's no anymore.
Okay, there you go.
You were right.
Mm.
Okay,
It's
let's
the
go.
sloppy slime time. Okay. Let's get Luke home.
Okay.
And quickly, because it's dark.
I hate it when it's dark.
It's not great.
Who killed this? Oh.
Oh, be careful, there's an enemy.
Amazing.
Alright.
I didn't know there was one inside the ship.
Yeah,
I
think we
know,
might
I'm
get fucked
sorry.
again.
No, it's not your fault.
I think we
Ah,
might actually
shit.
get fucked.
God, those are my fucking eyes on stream, though.
What's wrong with your eyes on stream?
I don't know. They're closing in weird ways.
Huh.
I also don't know how to lure it away.
Well, you can't. You just have to be quiet, like close the door and be quiet and hope it goes away.
Oh, okay. Well,
And not
I
make a lot of
didn't,
noise.
But I was also making sound, so...
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're gonna be talking to us, which attracts them.
And I didn't even say anything.
Oh, well. Clone, just make us leave. Make us leave. What are you doing? Go.
Clone W moment?
What are you doing? Don't approach them. Don't. Okay.
Alright, that could have gone worse.
That could have gone way
No, there's
worse.
stuff outside the oh, no, okay, don't pick it up. Oh, no,
And
there's
me. The shovel. The shovel. The shovel. The shovel. No. No. Oh, damn.
Oh, fuck.
I've got some stuff at least.
Fucking hell.
The shovel. The shovel,
You guys give
please.
me the fucking jump
The
scare in my
shovel.
life. What the fuck?
The shovel.
It's too late.
Oh, the shovel, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, well.
I did not know about the shovel, sorry.
That was fucking brutal, though. That was such a goddamn massacre.
It really was.
Yeah.
Right, well,
Yeah, it was.
do we have the walkie-talkie still?
Yeah, we have like one walkie-talkie, one flashlight that I saw.
Yeah.
Two. I have one as well.
Oh.
Okay, good.
Okay,
we got both
alright.
walkie-talkies and the flashlight, so we didn't lose much but the shovel.
Yeah, okay, that's we got the most important stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the watch out, there's a creature. Oh.
There really was a creature though.
It was so true.
I've
Are you,
heard
Luke,
that
are you
that
pretending to
creature
be
is blind.
on the clothing
What?
rack?
No. I didn't know I spawned there. I was just paused.
Well,
Okay, but
crouch and walk.
okay, if I
Yeah.
see anything and it fucking got
If
me
you
instantly.
walk, you make
Yeah,
noise.
you just got God real good.
Yeah.
God, really?
I was
Derek.
just very confused and scared because I was alone.
Yeah, it's okay.
I wasn't even looking at you. You were like, "Oh, careful! There's a red." Yeah, there was a red. Yeah.
Watch out, a
Can you give him a
creature.
fitting hat? Yeah, I will give him a fitting hat.
Alright.
A little him.
Clone. Can I have
Derek
the
gets a little Derek.
Can I
yeah,
swap for the walkie-talkie? Thank you.
Also, I might have missed some eggs. Let's see. Oh yes, Ara Anima Art, and starting the third egg stack is Mega VT. Thank you very much.
Egg.
There we go.
Right, everyone ready to land again?
Where are we going?
Yeah.
Well, hold on.
Next, another moon first.
Okay, I thought we were gonna stay here since it's the first quota, so.
No, because this place
Yeah,
is
we'll have
foggy
to
now. I
check
mean,
this.
we can, but it's dangerous.
Danger.
I hate it when there's danger.
I think it's kind of cool. Danger. Let's go.
But hey, we got some money.
I have nothing.
Do you want the
Shovel,
flashlight?
shovel, shovel.
I'm
No.
the most comfortable with nothing.
Who's staying
Don't have a
behind?
flashlight.
Oh, left side.
Is it my turn to be on the computer?
Okay.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, it's up to you. I'm also fine with like.
I mean, I want to
Staying.
try it at least once. Do we have?
Derek is a friend.
Yeah. Hold up.
In the right chat.
Here you go.
Derek
Yeah,
is
we
a
can.
friend, it's true.
Derek is a friend.
Okay, right.
All right,
I've got the
let me
walkie-talkie.
figure out how the fuck this thing works.
Do you want the crash course?
What a
That
beautiful
features
day.
the players that you're watching.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Then
I
on
can
the,
Definitely
around the
not foggy
player
at all.
you're watching,
It
you'll
really
see,
is
like,
quite nice here.
the direction that they're watching, and then like green triangles that
Why is nobody
is like
living
items
here?
in the ground that we can find.
Okay.
Because there's
And
monsters.
then
Mobs are
you'll see
enemies.
also like red spheres.
Yeah,
Those are the
that's-
enemies.
And then
And
here
Look
we
at the
go.
way
guys,
that
we'll
the
have, like,
character is like,
special
oh, I guess
doors.
you guys can't see it very well, but the way the
You can
character is
access the
holding the
terminal.
flashlight is kind of
We'll say
wild.
like D6, or you see on the map D6, you just press D6 and it opens the
Yeah,
door.
Derek's
You
friend,
don't have to
friendship.
open D6 or
We
close
love
D6,
Derek in
just
his
D6.
house.
Yeah, just D6.
Okay. I think I can do that.
Despise Derek in this house.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Okay, good luck.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
We're ready?
Where are we
we know where we
going?
I don't know. Where's
The other way. That way.
I'm guessing it's this way.
Okay.
Yeah, I got new creature data.
I trust so.
Nice. What did Luke say?
Well, I said, yeah, new creature data, and he
not
checked
this
it out.
way.
He was like, bees.
Oh, guys, no, please, no, I didn't, no,
Oh no.
I didn't do
No.
this. I didn't do this. I didn't
Jody,
do this.
no.
It like literally teleported me over the edge. It's
No.
I got the walkie-talkie.
Oh, no, no, no.
It's not my fault.
Life sucks,
Are you also falling?
I also did.
We're so stupid. We shall go together.
Where did Jody go?
Jody!
Jody, did you die? I think Jody died.
I think Jody might have died. Didn't Jody have the walkie-talkie? Oh, my oxygen! I'm gonna drown!
Yeah, she.
God! Oh wait, Jody's still alive. Oh. Oh no.
No, fuck no, fuck no, fuck no.
So we already fucking died. Are you kidding me?
Oh, stop screen cheating, dude. Clone. Hey, clone. Can everybody, chat? Can you all say in chat like stop screen cheating, clone?
Going in there. Let's go this way.
I'm so silly like that. Do you think there are fishies? I think I'm sleeping with them.
Ooh, another. What is he?
What's Nick doing?
Oh, here's me.
Yes. I don't even know what the other ones are. Making my way downtown.
Okay, now clone just has to read the chat.
I see Clown. I'm going to join.
Oh, hello. Hi, here, Jody.
Yes, it's me. I'm buying you. Hi.
Read the fucking chat,
behind me.
clone.
Oh, you got something?
Oh,
I got the walkie-talkie.
yes, just all.
The other side has a.
Be made aware of your sins. Read the
I
chat.
noticed, yeah.
Okay.
I
Oh,
died.
hi Nick. Did you also drown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jody's going in there.
That's the stupidest way to die, I think.
Yeah. I didn't
Clone-
know how to get out.
No, me neither.
Chip.
Clone keeps looking at my stream. No screen cheating. That breaks the immersion.
Ah.
Shadow Man? What do you mean you're Shadow Man?
Oh, the Shadow Man.
Firex has a Shadow Man in it.
Oh, the Jody's had a Shadow Man. I love the Shadow Man.
Okay.
That's
so
the first
Firex
monster I ever
has a
saw in this
Shadow Man
game.
in it. The main entrance has a spider in it. There's
And
no way
also
we can get into
a
that
very
facility
good and
safely.
underrated David Bowie song.
There's a shadow man.
There's a Shadow Man.
Zoe and that.
The Shadow Man is
Nick
close at
Zoe died
hand.
first, drowned probably, and then Nick stopped moving like a minute ago. So
Yeah,
I'm
there's
assuming
just
Nick
Shadow
died.
Man.
Yeah.
This is
because
Shadow
I'm
Man. So
so
we're leaving?
Yeah, I just gotta make sure.
We should leave. There's a
I'll just do
Shadow Man.
this.
It's a Shadow
I'm
Man.
closing
If I
the
do
door
this,
in
then
case
Clone
Shadow
won't be
Man
able to see the
doesn't
game anymore.
Is he outside? I mean, that seems like
This is good. This is worth it.
Just pull the trigger. Oh. I already did that.
That is fun,
Oh,
just watching everyone run around.
Yeah. We're leaving. There was a Shadow Man. We've got enough
Shadow
for quota
Man.
at least.
Yeah,
Shadow
we've got enough,
Man.
that's good.
We have a day left, so.
Yeah, true.
Let me out. I want to walk around.
I want to tell Clone. Clone! Clone!
Shadow.
Stop fucking screen cheating, dude!
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We're just
Like, on the ride, I wasn't even planning.
Don't do it! That ruins the game forever.
It's really funny seeing Zoe and Nick just walking around aimlessly. So Zoe stops and is like, she's probably dead. And then Nick stops like, he's probably dead.
Yeah, we drowned.
wait.
Did you see a Shadow Man?
How was Clone
No.
screen cheating?
Watching
I
the
looked like
stream.
one side, I was looking at the chat, and then I saw Zoe was like, oh wait, Zoe's looking at Jody. She's dead.
Oh. No, there was a Shadow Man through the fire exit, and then there was a spider through the main entrance, so there's just no way we could get
Yeah.
into the facility.
Well, that
So,
sucks.
At least got like the bottles and the brass. Bells,
You got
so
some
that's good.
stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Singing stream? I could.
Almost did.
I could try a karaoke stream at some point. I don't know if I'd be that good at it though.
But anyway, this place sucks.
Let's go. I
No
don't
chat,
wanna
only
go to
game.
This place.
Alright, let's see. Let's go to March.
Yay. Hey, I like March.
time travel, great.
Yes!
Martin.
We're time traveling one day at a time. It'll take us a while to get there, but we'll get there.
That's smart.
Oh,
I hear Mercury's in retrograde.
So, who's it? Who's at the computer
I'll
this
be at the
time?
computer this time. I'll be at the
Alright, I guess I'll keep the walkie-talkie.
Yep. Good luck.
Alright.
gang.
From here,
Thanks.
the facility is right there. You can see the lights already.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
I have nothing. Let's go!
Walkie-talkie is on.
Woo! No, you gotta surf power, dude.
I think we've got to walk around that. This is a swamp.
Yeah.
It's a march, even.
I'm following Clone, I think.
What the fuck is
Hello?
with my eyes,
sorry.
dude?
No, that's.
I'm not even
that's
wearing any
my beloved
makeup.
Zoe.
Beast, beast, beast,
fuck
beast!
the
Ow!
fuck the beast.
Yeah, I got hurt.
If the fuck please.
Maybe hold on a second. I'm just gonna do something real quick.
Okay.
There's
gonna
more
recalibrate
bees.
my
There's two
feature boost
hives
stuff.
Here.
I thought there was a Shadow Man for a second, but then it's just Luke. Oh, two hives.
Yo,
Yeah, maybe I'm just really sleepy.
what's happening?
Are we going in?
I'm just AFK. Don't worry about it.
That's not great in this game.
I know. Just give me a moment.
There's a lot of bees here. There's 2 beehives. I want to get both of them.
Okay. Let's see if things are better now.
Come in here, come in
Hello.
here. Crouch.
What's up here?
They're not. They don't want to wait for me, Jody. I don't know what to tell you.
What are we crouching about?
So that the enemies don't see us.
So that what can't see us?
Enemies.
If we there's enemies.
What
There's a
enemies?
fire exit, that's kind of nice. There's no enemies yet, but yeah, maybe.
I think they can still see us even if we're crouching. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. There's nothing here.
I love that you can crawl here. That's very cute.
This is a dead end. Oh, there's
Bum, ba,
Well, I guess
bum.
we can go downstairs.
Down it is.
Go.
Oh, there's light in here.
Big yawn.
A little bit.
To my left.
A key. I have a thing now. I feel so useful. Gang?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's big.
Whoa.
What?
I got a thing.
Oh yeah, you got one of
That's
those.
Huge gear.
I'm gonna bring it up to the entrance.
Jody, where did you go?
I'm here.
There you go.
Bearish. This is not the
Nick,
right
this-
direction.
Wait.
Yeah, I
This-
figured.
What's that
This
time?
is not at all the way home.
Wait, home? Ah, we got home. That's up here.
Okay, wait.
Where?
I haven't listened to any other Lethal Company streams I've watched before, but the circuit bees really activate my fight or flight instincts, especially when they're attacking anyone. They're very scary with all the zapping and stuff that they do. And they can just
That's
kill you real
which-
quick.
Which way is the entrance?
It's up here.
Oh. There's a red thing somewhere upstairs, but it's not moving.
Okay.
Is it this? No. this
Where
is
did we
not the
come from
way.
again? Was it this way?
Clone, you were almost. There was a red thing real
No,
close to you.
what?
Oh.
I just heard something.
Yeah, I told you.
Oh shit, there it is. Oh
We
god.
gotta go! We gotta run! We gotta run!
This is a dead end. This place is a dead end.
How is this a dead end?
Where?
This place. No, where we are. Oh crap. I think someone just got killed. Oh. I wanna jump down! I wanna jump down! I wanna jump down, please! I couldn't jump down! No, the other way. It's the other way. No, well. Oh my god, Clone is so fucking dead. Clone is dead, Clone is dead. Oh my god. I gave up.
I'm dead.
Oh, yeah. Oh no. What is it doing?
Shit.
What is it doing? How did you die, Clone?
Yeah, I think I'm the only
I
one.
jumped.
You jumped, okay.
Nobody's dead too.
Hi, Nick. That was weird. Why wasn't it killing you?
I don't know.
That was weird.
It doesn't really make sense that the
I
paths
think
have changed.
think Clone fell to their death.
Yep.
That is correct.
The thing is
Clone
scary
was dead,
fast,
so was
dude.
dead. You're the last one.
I can't believe we lost
Yeah, I'm
ourselves.
the
I thought we
one in
knew
the
the way.
left, and the paths are changing.
Yeah, we got
the
so
way back
lost.
wasn't the way back anymore.
They're not changing. The paths don't change in this game. There's just you.
I mean, like, this sense of direction is absolute garbage.
This is true.
I apologize.
No, don't worry, it is probably me, but
It felt like the paths were changing. It's like going through the rooms and being like, "Well, this is the same room, right?" Apparently, it wasn't.
Wait, I see Clone Horn and beer cans. No! No!
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, go
worried
back for
about
him.
the
Go
monsters,
back,
'cause this
go back.
real fast.
Yes. yes.
Charger.
It's coming in. It's
Nice.
Yay!
coming in. It's coming to the room. It's coming to the room.
Oh god, there. Oh shit, there it is.
Okay, it's
I
backing
fought
up,
that
it's
one
backing
before.
up.
If you hit it a few times, it runs away for a
Different
bit.
creature than what got Nick and Zoe.
We don't have anything to eat.
No, we don't have anything to fight it with.
Why was
Okay, it seems to.
Left you alone.
Oh, it didn't attack because it didn't have a path.
Okay,
didn't
just
have a
be
what?
careful. You gotta find
Path,
the
like it
exit
can't find a
somehow. I
path
don't
to
know
us.
Yeah, me neither. I found a
Clown
But also
horn,
that one seems
whatever
more
good elves
skittish,
do.
so maybe it doesn't try to attack us if
If you
it
found the clown horn, you can pick up multiple bits of scrap.
if it
Because the small one's going to be put back in your inventory.
if we don't provoke it.
Yeah, I'll just take that instead of the bottles, because the bottles just full of the hands.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Right, I don't know how you're gonna get out of there though. I don't know where the exit is.
No, I don't know how I got here.
And I don't know. I guess I can jump this gap. I'll try
Hi,
that. because there's a monster
Sid.
away, so I'll have
How
to
you
deal with that.
doing? This company is extremely lethal. We have all died basically every time.
I don't see the monster at the moment. It seems to all left the area, so.
We're really bad at it. But hey, can my friend get a shout out? Very good.
Yeah, I was just about to.
Don't die.
Things are going a lot less well as when they did when we had 8 people.
It's so strange that the
Okay, I believe in you, Luke. There's gotta be an exit
navigation
somewhere.
in this game fucks up with
I
my
found a
navigation.
power box.
That is central direction.
Okay, well,
Yeah, it's very hard. I mean, it's because it's all dark and it all looks the same.
No, but it's like, I didn't think that was in the game. Oh, this is also just a dead end. God damn it.
Okay, there's 2 red things.
Okay, but he's not on the side as that creature.
How do you know? Can you move?
What do you mean? I just remember locations. Oh well.
Look at. It's getting stuck.
Can I get it off?
Well then.
Can he get it off? This is a good
Yeah, in
question.
sunlight. Someone has to either hit it off you or you have to go outside in the sun. Well,
I got 8.
yeah, we saw. It was funny.
That really scared me.
Yeah, I
Go,
know.
Jody, go.
Go, Jody. Leave. Escape.
Jody doesn't know that
Get
you
freedom.
need to push the lever.
I think Jody knows. Question mark.
So just close the door.
That was a train wreck.
Oh no, there you go. You did push it.
Okay.
Hello,
Bye.
Yay.
Yay!
Good
Jump scared
job.
by a ceiling leech or whatever.
Train wreck.
All right, let's go
Where's
meet our
the-
prophet.
Guys, where's the walkie-talkie? I want to try something.
It's gone. I got
yeah.
eaten.
Yeah, we've only got one.
Can I have it for a second?
Sure, it's there. It's on the floor.
Oh, that... Oh,
Hey, hand on shoulder, you did very well.
it's really stuck. The layout in that place was so bad for my terrible sense of direction. I get lost so easy.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
already
it's
have
like-
such a bad sense, so that did not help at all.
It's like, this is the same room, right? Apparently it wasn't. Apparently I found a room that was just looked the same. It wasn't.
I know.
I
I'm
know.
scared.
Oh, but that train that was so fast. That was really. That was really freaky looking.
Yeah, I have no idea what that thing was.
It was so fucking fast, and then it saw me, and I was like, "Well, I'm leaving." And then I think it saw Nick and I went for Nick.
Yeah.
we got some
Sid
stuff to
and
solve.
Fred Fox, thank you both for the eggs.
Car battery! Can I close the door from the
I've
outside?
been hit
Hold on.
by the egg. Do we?
I can.
Okay.
That's interesting.
I guess I'll stay
did
in
an
here.
experiment. I did an experiment. No, Zoe.
Don't do it yet. Wait. It's fine. We haven't
What
been
is it about? Oh,
mad.
it's that's true.
Okay.
You got anything to say, buddy?
You are
Professionals.
Great.
Nice,
We're professionals.
We are.
Let's
Let
see
me
what's
go
on
check
the
something.
You know, apart from all the depths.
I've never been on the ground here. Ow, my leg.
What happened? Look. Did you break your legs?
I already broke another flashlight.
Is that terminal an intentional alien reference, I wonder?
Egg.
Down behind you.
The terminal that we use to communicate? Like look at the camera and stuff? That one?
Were the pro flashlights on sale?
No.
Big sad. Didn't get notification. Stupid. Twitch being so bad at things as usual.
Egg.
Shark Waves, thank you very much for the egg. And Kiraket, thank you as well.
Okay, Zoe, I want to ask, right?
Yes.
In that plan where we fell into the fucking river, like you just like sort of slid off there, didn't you? Like it's not like
Yeah.
you went too close to the edge; it just sort of pulled you off.
Yeah, I just kind of slid off.
Yeah, it's the same. I wasn't anywhere close to the edge. It was so ridiculous.
But you somehow didn't drown, unlike us.
Yeah, I just swam to the shore, but I guess you guys didn't.
We were looking for a shore.
Oh, well, I found it.
Oh, well, good chicken for you. Hmm?
Broke my other leg.
Oh, that's nice. Let's go. Are we all here?
What do you guys
One,
want?
two,
Wait, no, I bought more stuff.
We're missing someone. Hello?
Clone brought some stuff.
Where is Nick?
Nick!
I think Nick went down. I did something with a walkie-talkie.
Shovel.
Nick? Where's Nick? Nicholas?
Where is Nick?
Is
Did
Nick
die?
dead?
How could Nick have died?
Okay.
Nick?
Nick is doing a lore thing.
A lore thing? What?
A lore thing? What do you mean? What do you mean Nick is doing a lore thing?
Yeah. Do you want to talk with Nick here?
Sure?
Take it.
Hello, Nick?
Yes, hello.
What are you doing? Where are you?
I'm doing a lore thing. There's like if you in one of the logs it says that if you go near the wall with a walkie-talkie, you can hear screams.
Oh, that sounds nice. Let me try.
What? What's going on?
What are you doing?
It doesn't seem to work.
I'm glad we don't get answers.
Hmm. Well, apparently, if you have the walkie-talkie near the wall, you can hear screams.
Oh, cool.
Maybe it's just like a random event sometimes, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
So, where are you?
You know the way you went with Luke?
Yeah, I figured you'd be there.
I went the other way.
Oh. Ah. Rebel, I see. I respect it.
What's going on?
Me, I'm a rebel through and through.
So true. Well, we should probably go back though, because I kind of want to do like one more.
I can
What the
see
fuck
the
was
big
that?
landing. Almost there.
Oh,
all
that's
right.
what it was.
Man, that
This
really
was like
projects,
from
huh? That sound of
It really
music.
does.
I don't know if I can hear it right now, but
So what's Nick doing?
walking along the wall on the other end with the radio
Oh, I
on, trying to hear something. What?
Well,
Did you just attack me?
no.
What the fuck? I just took damage.
What do you mean you just took from what?
I just took damage.
From what?
I don't know.
Huh?
So good times.
Someone's buying something.
Something just attacked me.
What?
Yeah, I just took damage from something.
Hi.
Oh. Weird.
We were walking along the wall and then like something, it was like I got like stepped in the back or something.
Weird.
Was that the lore? Was
I
that
didn't see
it?
anything.
There's Nova.
Hi.
That was weird.
Did anyone take the shovel and the pro flashlight that I bought?
Yeah, I have them both. Yeah.
What the hell? Why was I what?
That is a good question. Why you were attacked? I have no idea.
I don't know.
I mean, listen, the computer says it's safe, so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's someone decided that, they might also be.
I guess that's true.
That was fucked up.
Wouldn't the legal company would like you to
Sorry.
believe that it's not legal?
Sorry.
Well, yeah, we want you to believe that. What?
Wait, wasn't it?
Was it you?
Wasn't Jody?
It was me. I had a shovel.
Oh, fuck you! Ow, hey, ow! No, wait, you can actually kill me with that. You can actually kill each other. Stop, stop.
I'm sorry.
Fuck you, Jody.
I'm sorry. It was too funny.
Real,
I just
very
thought that the shovel
mean.
hit. Thought the shovel hit you and then put it away very quickly.
See, because I heard like the stretching noise that precedes hitting something with a shovel, so I assumed if it's a creature, Jody.
It was me.
It was you.
Yippee.
All right, should we go? I want to do one more, and then we'll call it quits for today.
Okay.
Okay.
One more quota or one more.
No, one more mission.
Okay.
Here we go. Ow! Fucking stop!
I'm sorry.
I'm dying.
You're gonna kill me with that, dude.
Okay, here.
Whoa,
you can
what?
have
You're
the
doing a different
shovel.
dance. How are you doing that?
What
What are you doing? Is that not a dance? What are you doing?
No, I'm not doing anything. Okay, you can have the shovel.
Oh, well, you were for me. You were doing like a fun leg dance.
Okay.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
I would have gone away with two if it wasn't for my sense of honesty.
I'm glad it came through in the end. Should we do like a really hard one? That'd be funny.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Let's go, Titan. We still can. It's too expensive.
Oh, it needs like 600 money for that one.
700. Well, we have no
that's
money.
cringe.
Let's go to offense. Let's go.
Yes, cool.
Okay, here we go. Landing the ship.
I've got a radio.
Who is staying behind? Who is staying behind?
I don't have a radio, so someone who does.
I have the radio, but if someone else wants to stay behind, that's fine.
I also have
We
a
also
radio.
have 2 shovels. We have 2 pro lights.
I'm gonna hit stuff with a
I'll
shovel.
stay behind then.
Okay.
Okay.
Give me.
There you go.
Okay.
I already have one.
Oh, you have one. Then I'm taking it again.
Yeah.
I've got a radio and a shovel. That's all I got right now.
Meet.
I have
got a radio
pro
and flashlight.
flashlight.
Okay, let's go.
Which way do we go?
This way,
Alrighty then.
I think.
Hell
It
yeah.
seems like it.
I do not remember.
That is a goal.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh yeah, main entrance is there.
Yes, we have to go around it. I think there's like a trick to it or something, but I don't really remember. To get there faster.
What's this thing?
Bada 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 bam bam bam. Ooh, do you dare? Do you dare to do the jump?
Don't laugh at me, you wench.
I'm sorry.
You fucking bitch.
This is a place.
Okay, Jody's just going around.
Hi.
Hi. Woo! Oh, dude, look at you slide.
Yeah.
It's very nice. Where's Jody? Jody!
I'm down here. I'm coming up.
Are you? Oh, there you are. Hi.
Sorry. Jody's fucking almost too deaf.
You people are mean to me.
I'm sorry. Facility reached.
You're quite nuts.
What?
It's kind of dark here. Look at that. It's like big gear.
Big gear.
Like monsters? Oh, those are our base.
It's outside.
Creature, I hear a creature.
Something's coming.
I have a key.
It's a fast
I heard a
Wait, the
big
beast closed
stompy.
the door. It's a bee.
What? Going over there. Is that
There is a creature around here,
Yeah.
gang.
Yeah, I hear.
Is it not bee land or is it white?
Gang? Right.
We're all here.
I don't see the creature.
The door is closed.
I mean, I have a key, so.
Is it just open then?
Nobody's dead.
Nobody's dead.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
I can also talk to you, by the way. That's weird.
I hear a turret. I believe it's behind this room. This door.
Oh, that just shoots and kills us?
That's weird. I can't
Yep.
close the door forever.
What about this door?
That door? I don't know.
What are we doing?
That,
Dead end.
well, that's
Dead end. Okay.
That's nothing.
There's also like an item right
And
next
then
Oh, hey, another big thing. Nice.
Yeah. No, someone else is going in there.
A kettle.
Is it this door?
I found a kettle.
Luke found the item.
Oh, you can make tea.
Okay.
Wait.
Man, the walkie-talkie is not nice to not great microphones, I gotta say.
Is it dead end?
Yeah, that's the
Yep.
Yeah, nothing there.
Okay.
Guess we're going over here.
I haven't seen the beast yet.
No, I've only
Right,
heard it.
me. Yeah, no, same.
Okay, nothing here.
So the only way to go is the beast way then.
I will. Who here has a shovel? Does anyone else have a shovel?
I have a shovel.
We will destroy the beast.
Okay, it sounded very big.
We are going to destroy the beast.
Okay, I'm glad you have
Go off, I guess.
Give it a light, yes.
Here you go.
There are more items that way as well.
Oh, it's coming. I hear it.
What is the beast
I hear it
going?
too. It's the landmine to the left.
It's a landmine. Watch out.
Should I open the door?
Oh, it's locked behind this Y9.
No, everyone always says why now. Never had a house.
Okay.
Spider time.
There's no beast
Spider
nearby.
time. Spider time.
I see it. It's on the wall. I see it.
You get it in front
I
of
see
you.
it. Right, ready?
Something is attacking Zoe.
That went well.
They're both dead.
Oh, okay.
We did
Let's
great.
go.
I'm proud of us.
Check the landmine.
I don't think we can kill that spider.
We're leaving. The spider
I
killed two of us.
am surprised, honestly, that it killed both of us that easily.
Yeah, me too.
I thought we would. I thought we could do it. You know, both of us.
Big stuff, and it's two of us. Perfect, I guess.
But I guess we're not strong
Yeah,
enough.
we
I guess
just
not.
have to
guess
drop.
that
We have
shovel game is
to go this way.
Yeah, long way. Because
We
can't
have
jump
to.
up
We just
and
need to do
jump
more
and climb up.
gardening and digging graves and stuff, so we can train our shovel stat.
It's true. It's true.
It's true. It's true.
What else can you do with a shovel?
Moats.
Are you waiting for Nova? For Luke?
You can do moats with it.
Right.
Try to kill spiders before they seem to be way tougher than they
I
look.
don't know.
No, spiders are easy. Just smash them.
I don't think they're easy. I'm gonna be honest though.
No, but
I think
Oh,
they
unless you
might
meant
be
in the
should probably
game.
stay stick together.
Probably. Oh yeah, turns out
Wait,
trying to
I'm
hit a
still
giant spider with shovels didn't do much.
No.
Really didn't,
I'm
huh?
still moving.
It's unfortunate.
Continuing well, I think.
Yeah, they.
Maybe it's eating my corpse.
We got
Welcome back.
Are you looking at it?
We couldn't really
The clone said just said it's
walkie-talkie
moving.
because I'm holding this
My
big
corpse
thing.
is moving.
Did you hear me at least?
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I still
Spiders
have
will
it.
tangle up your corpse and it'll like hang from the ceiling and
I
move.
got this,
Come back.
Fucked up.
Yeah, it's scary.
and I got
This is
this.
scary.
Ooh.
Okay, Sharkwave's meant in the game.
Can make.
Right, yeah, they are surprisingly tough. Polar Star's meant in real life, though.
How
So we
many?
leave?
That's not bad. Yeah, we
We
leave.
got 114. which
Spiders
is-
don't really kill you in one hit with a bite. That's a
We have 2 more
misconception.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to stop the stream. We've been going for 3.5 hours and I'm tired.
And
And I
they
just
went
need
pretty.
to get out friends back.
They went pretty fast.
Yeah, I didn't even think it was like a huge enemy because on the screen it looked like a small dot. I was like, there's a small enemy there.
Well, it was a spider, so maybe it was making itself small.
Oh, could be.
So spiders coming in.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Sorry, I led you right into the enemy.
That's okay. Hey, we were going to the enemy. We wanted to kill it.
So we saw you both get destroyed, and we left.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
we
I
could
think
see.
it was a smart move.
Did it feel like it did anything hitting it with the shovel?
Absolutely not.
No,
Nothing.
absolutely not. No.
Oh, we
It
lost
felt like
both
it. It
ourselves?
felt like it barely registered us, and the second it did, it just it looked at us and we exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda. One of you was killed instantly, and then the other one got a one hit in and got eaten in afterwards.
It was
How
not
many moves are
ideal.
in this game?
Luckily, it was busy eating jutsu, so we could leave without it chasing us.
That's
So, yeah,
nice.
It was a pretty short run, so I'm up for another. I like this game quite a bit.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that, but I think I'm not. I'm tired.
Okay. Probably
That's
for the
not
best
bad.
because
She's fucking sleepy.
I'm so EP, gang.
So EP.
I'm the motherfucking Eeper, dude.
guys, I'm
So
so
deeper.
sick. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, all right. If Nick is so
you're
sick and
so
I'm so
cool.
EP, we should probably call it quits.
That's
But
the worst enemy, the Eeper.
the Eeper, honestly.
Eepers.
She eeps, you know.
She eeps. Yeah.
She eats everywhere.
She eats. She eats. It's horrible.
Where did this thing go? What?
Vicious cycle.
That's useful.
I don't
if
know.
you scan, it adds all the things together in the prize.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
Like always scan, it's like so good. So I wanna see ours.
The EP Beeper. But gang,
I like this.
I think it's time we go.
That's all.
We have
So-
to.
Time to go.
Thank you so much, He's for coming. All my friends, for hosting. Would any of you like to plug anything?
I got stuck in the. I got stuck in.
Would any of you like to plug anything?
Oh.
No.
I plugged myself not long ago, so.
True.
Wait, let me plug Jody again.
Everyone, go to
Plug me into the
bed.
wall and charge
Go,
me up.
everybody go to bed. Everybody,
Yeah,
instead of
Stop
plugging
plugging your
anything, I'm
bed.
just gonna say
It
tonight,
needs you. And
all of
need
you
one
have to
bed.
go get a
Like,
good
mine
night's
doesn't
rest
work
sleep
anymore.
tonight, and I will also try to do that.
Are you sleepy? You should go to bed.
You
go
should
to
go
bed
to-
now for free.
For free.
Yeah.
If you have a bed, use it.
Please.
Luke, do the Spampton voice.
You should go to bed now for only $5.99 hours.
Yay!
Yay. All right. So we're gonna find someone to raid.
Snooze and boost forever.
Yay!
Sound like the Grudge Girl.
She really does.
Yeah. Go, are you okay?
I'm scared.
Anyone have a
guys.
shovel? Can we both?
So everybody hurry up! I'm gonna land the ship. I'm
Okay,
gonna do it.
sorry. We're gonna raid. We are going to raid Ray Spark, who's very nice, who's doing some art. Right now is brainstorming
Yay,
your
art.
character here commissions, so that'll be fun and good. The raid message will be, oh, we're so eepin'.
We're so even.
We're so even.
This is the raid
Houston, we have a
message.
Houston, we have a spider.
The Eeper sleeper is the goer to bed. That's also fun, actually. But no, we're doing the thing I already said because I already said it, and I want to go. So thank you guys so much. I'm sorry I'm a little bit tired, but I hope it was fun. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a very wonderful rest of your day. Bye. Goodbye. I'd wave, of course, but my hands don't work. Bye.
Point.
Bye.
Bye.
Point.